Hi guys, it's me Shazza HD and welcome to the second race watch along of 2019 for the 2019 Bahrain Grand Prix here today at the end of March, and hopefully you guys are ready for what I think is going to be a fantastic Grand Prix today. Now what we're going to do first off, before the race starts, we have an hour until the race does start. First off, we're going to preview what's going to happen and build our way up towards the Bahrain Grand Prix of 2019, and then of course we'll get into the race and do the race watch along, and then I'll do some reaction with you guys for about 45 minutes to an hour after the race finishes. Hopefully you guys, no matter where you are in the world, are doing well and are again ready for what I think is going to be a very good Bahrain Grand Prix. It never really does disappoint, this race, and I think it will not disappoint today. But if you did forget or not see what happened in qualifying yesterday, let me now take you through the results of qualifying and exactly who starts where for the 2019 race in Sakhir. So, on pole position will be for the first ever time Charles Leclerc, second is Sebastian Vettel, then it is the two Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas on the second row, with Max Verstappen in P5, Magnussen in P6, Sainz P7. Grosjean qualified in 8th but has a 3-place grid penalty for blocking Lando Norris in Q1. So Grosjean will start the race from P11, so Raikkonen will start from 8th and then Norris will start from 9th. Daniel Ricciardo will then start 10th after a disappointing qualifying, then Grosjean will start 11th, and then Albon is 12th, Gasly very disappointingly in P13, Perez 14th, 15th Kvyat, 16th Antonio Giovinazzi, 17th Hulkenberg, 18th Stroll, and then of course the two Williamses, George Russell and Robert Kubica at the very back of the grid. But now we've gone through the qualifying results and what the grid is for today's Grand Prix, let me now get into the teams and start previewing how I think they're going to do in today's Grand Prix. So of course, we will start with the world champions Mercedes, who I think in qualifying, their pace, it wasn't great, but I think it was good considering apparently the topic that Mercedes apparently were losing half a second on the straights to Ferrari. So considering that and considering how many straights are at Bahrain, Mercedes did very well to end up as far behind as they did of Vettel and also Charles Leclerc. But I think Mercedes in the race are going to be a lot more competitive than they were in qualifying. I think they have set their car up more so for the race than so for qualifying, because apparently they have a bit more downforce on their car than say Ferrari, and I think are going to be very strong. If you look at the Friday race pace or race simulations, Mercedes did have the best car by, I think, 0.3 to half a second. So they are looking very strong, I think, for the race. Will they win the Grand Prix? It's going to be tough, but they definitely can win the Grand Prix. It's not going to be an easy race for Ferrari. Yes, they have the front row. Yes, they finish 1-2 in every single session up until today's Grand Prix. But with the conditions we have for today and the race pace that Mercedes have shown, it's going to be a real dogfight for those 57 grueling laps. So I think we are in for mostly a two-way fight at the top, and also Max Verstappen, as we'll get onto in a moment, will be in there fighting away as usual. But now let's go on to Ferrari, and of course the big story from yesterday was Charles Leclerc getting his first ever pole position in Formula 1. He is the youngest driver in Ferrari's history to get pole, and the second youngest driver in history to get pole position. But now he's qualified on pole, can he do the hardest part of all and win his first ever Grand Prix and also get his first ever podium in Formula 1? It's going to be very tough because even though he does have a very, very fast racing car for today's Grand Prix, he has people alongside him, Vettel and Hamilton, who have been there, done that. They've won plenty of races. They've raced for the lead over, 100 times in a Grand Prix in different races. So they are way more experienced when it comes to winning a race or trying to compete to win the Grand Prix. And I think Charles is going to come under a lot of pressure from his teammate and Lewis Hamilton, and maybe Bottas and Verstappen as well, if those two can be a bit closer in the race. So it's going to be tough for Charles, but I am confident that he has a strong enough head and can keep cool under pressure and try and get a positive result for the Scuderia. For Sebastian Vettel, of course, he was definitely disappointed with his own performance, I think, in qualifying yesterday, but I think he will be happy that the Ferrari car is on the front row. And if he can get the start right, like he did last year at the same track, then he should have a pretty good race. But again, it's going to be a tough fight with Hamilton in there, Bottas also, who is good at this track, as we know, Verstappen, who should be a lot closer in the race today in terms of pace. So I think overall for Ferrari, even though they have had the best car this weekend, it is going to be a tough race. They're not going to be just cruising out front, 1-2, for the entire Grand Prix. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I'd be surprised if it's an easy race for that team. I don't think they have that much pace in hand over the other teams. And I think it will be a tough race for Ferrari. And I don't think it is guaranteed that they're going to win, because I think they know that their biggest rivals, Mercedes, are going to be stronger in the race than they were in qualifying. But hopefully for Ferrari, they can get their first win of 2019 and respond in kind to what Mercedes did in Australia. If they responded in the same way, or replicated what Mercedes did in Australia, 1-2 in qualifying and a 1-2 in the race, that would be the ideal response to what they did in Melbourne. Next up, though, is Red Bull. Max Verstappen starts in P5. I think Red Bull are going to be a lot more competitive in the race. I think Verstappen, once he gets off the soft tyre, which the Red Bull car has been not doing well on, and he gets onto either the medium tyre or the hard tyre, I think the Red Bull car will then come alive and be a lot closer to, say, Ferrari and Mercedes. But pace-wise, to win this Grand Prix, I don't think Verstappen or Red Bull can. I don't think they have enough speed in the car to do that. But I think they are absolutely contenders for the podium, no doubt about that. Because, as we've seen before, Red Bull have been at times miles off in qualifying, but then on race day, they turn up and have an absolute stormer. Just go back to the 2018 Brazilian Grand Prix, for example, where Verstappen in qualifying was about the same gap off pole position and should have won the race, and Red Bull had the best car in the race by an absolute mile. So there's plenty of examples to draw on where Red Bull have been miles off in qualifying and then gone on to have a great race, and I think they will be a lot stronger in the race and be closer to the top three than they were in qualifying. Pierre Gasly, though, he will have a tough day on his hands because he has qualified P13. He will start in P13, but he's not starting in that position because, he's unlucky or had some kind of power unit issue or anything like that. It's because he deserves to be in that position. That's how quick Gasly has been this weekend, and that's not very. And I think we'll have a very tough fight on his hands to get into the points, because ahead of him you have the Haas's, who look very quick, Kimi Raikkonen, Daniel Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz in the quick McLaren. If Gasly does score points, it's not going to be a massive amount of points, probably 9th or 10th, and I think he'll do very well to get into, say, a P7 or even higher than that in the Grand Prix. But yeah, because of his poor pace, I don't think Pierre has the greatest chance to actually get a strong finish. He would have been hoping for this race, considering what happened in Australia, he would have been hoping to have, say, a top 5 or top 6 finish in qualifying on the Grand Prix. But I don't really see how for the Grand Prix that is really possible. So, not looking good for Pierre. And he is, again, going to struggle to score points, I think, because I don't think he has amazing speed in that car to just fly through the field or the midfield and get towards his teammate or anything like that. But Red Bull, I think, will be stronger with their car in the race. But for Verstappen, he will get the best out of the car. For Gasly, he hasn't been getting the best out of that car at all this weekend. So even if the Red Bull car is, like I think it will be, better in the race, he's still not going to be that quick. So don't expect much from Gasly. But for Verstappen, don't be surprised if Max is on the podium, because we know that Red Bull car can be very, very quick. But before I go on to the midfield and preview how those teams are going to do in today's Grand Prix, let me know right now in the live chat, guys. Who do you expect out of the top 3 teams to be good or not so good? For Mercedes, do you think they'll be close in the race and really contend for the race win? For Ferrari, do you think they can maintain a 1-2 at the end of the Grand Prix? And for Red Bull, do you think they will be a lot closer pace-wise to the top 2? And can Max Verstappen get a podium? Let me know right now in the live chat, and I'll try to read out as many comments in the live chat as I can in the next 5 minutes or so. So let me have a look at what you guys have to say. Great to see that you guys are all here, 143 of you. By the way, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as I do qualifying watch-alongs and race watch-alongs for every race weekend, and I will be for every race weekend in 2019. So don't forget to subscribe either bottom right of the screen, or click on my channel name, and go to my channel page and click subscribe, and also hit the notifications bell. But now let me read out some of your comments for the next 5 minutes or so to see what you guys think will happen for the top 3 teams in this race. I don't think it'll be formation flying to the flag today. Right, let me take a look at the comments. I just saw a comment there about Charles Leclerc. Stella says Charles will be in front for the majority of the race, I reckon. If he gets the start right, then with the way he is mentally, he'll probably just build on that and go from there and continue getting more confident as the race goes on, because that's the type of guy he comes off as to me. But because of his youth, if he does get a bad start at that age, you tend to then just continue having even worse luck or things going against you. So if he gets the start right, he should just build on it from there. Let me take a look at some more comments in the chat. Good evening to Spider Monkey in the chat. Alan says Red Bull Honda should be good on this track. Maybe a couple DNFs and Max wins. I don't think Max can win. I think a lot would need to go his way for him to win the Grand Prix. I think he can get a podium. I don't think he, though, can win the race. I don't think the Red Bull has enough to do so. But you never know. If he gets a great start, gets up to P3 or P2. We've seen it in the past. I think Felipe Massa a couple years ago went from P7 on the grid up to P3. So you can make good starts at this track and really gain a lot of time in the Grand Prix. So if he makes a good start, who knows? But realistically, I don't think the race is there for him to win. I think, though, he can get a podium. Nib in the chat, great to see him. Unfortunately, he can't join us today, but hopefully he will be a part of the race watch along for China in 2 weeks' time. Just want to make that clear. He says, I think Ferrari will be ahead in the race, but by no means comfortable to those behind. I think if Ferrari get the start right, then yeah, but the start at Bahrain tends to be so crucial. It was crucial last year to the end result, because the reason Bottas was able to be so close to Vettel at the end and make it so tough was because he got that great start past Kimi Raikkonen on the grid. We've seen races decided at the start of the Grand Prix. Think back to 2016 when Nico Rosberg beat Hamilton off the line and then Bottas hit Hamilton and all of that chaos that happened in 2016. So, yeah, I think if they can get away 1-2, they should really not dominate the race, but they should just, slowly but surely pull away and maintain a healthy gap over the other teams. Right, I'll read out probably one more comment and then I'll get on to the midfield. There's a lot to talk about with the midfield because a lot of them are so close in that epic battle for the front of the midfield. Simon Cragland says, I think Leclerc will win, but it will be exciting to see how quick Red Bull and Mercedes will be. I'm really interested to see where Mercedes are, because normally Mercedes tend to be better in qualifying than the race in terms of pace, but in terms of the result, they tend to get a better result than they do in qualifying, if you know what I mean, because they really tend to pull out all the stops. But pace-wise, Mercedes have always tended to be a better qualifying team than race team, but I think they've set their car up for the race rather than qualifying. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where they are in today's Grand Prix. But now I'll move on to the midfield, a very packed midfield. Let's start with Renault, who had a poor qualifying, nowhere near where they should be in P11 and P17. Daniel Ricciardo at least gets to start in the top 10 and also does have a free choice of tyres because he qualified outside the top 10. So he is likely to start on the medium tyre and then go to the hard tyre in today's Grand Prix. And that might give him the opportunity to get maybe an 8th or a 9th place finish, as long as he does have a good start, which we know for him is quite a difficult thing, or for Australian drivers is quite a difficult thing. I know Nib in the chat will be cursing me saying that. But yeah, if he can get a good enough start and use that medium tyre well, that he's definitely going to start on. I can't imagine they'll start on the soft. If he can use that tyre well and make some progress, then Ricciardo could end up with a decent points finish. For Hülkenberg, he's going to have to hope that he has an okay start at least and doesn't have an accident, and then just try and build from there and try and pick people off. In a Renault car that I think is faster than a couple cars ahead of him, for example, Perez, Giovinazzi. Those are two drivers I think he can be quicker than. So for Hülkenberg, it's going to be difficult to see him finishing the points. His record at Bahrain is not that good. For Ricciardo, though, he does tend, Daniel, to be quite good in the races. Not amazing, but quite good in the races. So if he can use the medium tyre well that he will probably be starting on, then he should finish in the points. But of course, there are no guarantees in Formula 1. But one thing I have to say, Renault have to score points in this Grand Prix. If they come away from this race with no points and Haas end up scoring points with both cars, then it has been a disastrous weekend for Renault. Even though they're not expected to be good at this track, compared to their main rivals Haas, it still has been a disaster. So they've got to score points today and just not lose too many points to their rivals. But let's now move on to McLaren, who had a great qualifying session. They've had a great weekend. They've looked to me to have the 5th best car on the grid, and the last time they had that was maybe a Monaco Grand Prix, say when they had Honda in 2016, but the last time they absolutely had the fifth best car was towards the end of 2014. It's been a long time since this team has been in that kind of position. And I don't think the qualifying position for them is... I mean, it's a surprise considering it's McLaren and considering how poor they've been in the last couple of years. But they've been like it all weekend in those types of positions. And I don't think they're just going to fall away in the race like they did in Australia. I think in the race today, they're going to try and maintain, and they probably will maintain that similar kind of position and have the pace to be there. Not necessarily with the Haas of Kevin Magnussen, but they'll definitely be there on pace with Gasly, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, maybe Grosjean, depending on how Grosjean does in the Grand Prix and if he can extract the pace out of the Haas car. But McLaren looking good for a strong points finish, absolutely. I'm just hoping nothing goes wrong at the start, because it'd be a shame for this great weekend for McLaren to go so horribly wrong for them. So hopefully what happens is they get a decent enough start and just go from there and get at least one car into the points. If they can finish, say, in the top 8, that'd be a great result. And that is what I'm hoping for McLaren, and I think they can get it. Moving on though to Alfa Romeo, who I thought with Kimi Raikkonen did pretty well, considering that Alfa have had a troubled weekend. In practice 2, for example, they didn't do that much running because of some kind of issue with the car. They had to remove a lot of parts off the car during practice 2. So they have been a bit behind when it comes to data, intelligence about what's going on when it comes to the other teams. And that's what I think will affect them in this Grand Prix. Kimi Raikkonen, who is starting in P8, with the way he is around this track and the way the Alfa Romeo car is, he should finish in that type of position. But because they don't have the data about what the tyres are going to be like on that car in the race simulations from Friday, because they didn't do any, they're going to miss out and be in the dark as to what to expect. Teams like Haas, McLaren, Renault, they're going to know what to expect from the soft tyre, the medium tyre, maybe even the hard tyre. Alfa Romeo are completely in the dark. They just have to basically assume or go off of what they thought was going to happen with the tyres and the race pace coming into the weekend without doing any running, because they lost crucial data in practice 2, and hopefully they cannot be affected too much, even though I think they will be affected slightly by that. But for me, as long as Kimi Raikkonen, if Kimi can finish in the top 8 in the race, that would be a great result for Alfa Romeo, considering where they are right now with the car, the current development of the car, and considering the issues they've had in practice 2 and the issues they've had the whole weekend. So a top 8 finish with Kimi Raikkonen would be a great result for Alfa Romeo, and I'm hoping that they don't fall back too much because of a lack of data when it comes to the tyres. Next up is Haas, who, again, just like Australia, have the best car in the midfield. Can they replicate that in the Grand Prix? As we know, Haas tend to be a better qualifying team than a race team. So I don't expect them to be racing with Max Verstappen, for example, with Kevin Magnussen. I think the Red Bull will be a lot quicker in the race, especially when the Red Bull goes onto the medium compound tyre in the Grand Prix. But Haas, with Magnussen, as long as K-Mag doesn't have a troubled start and gets away fine, he should finish at the front of the midfield and just capitalise on any issues or retirements that happen ahead of him. For Grosjean, though, even though he does have the best car in the midfield, because of the way Romain Grosjean is, with his erratic driving and just not getting the absolute best out of the car on a consistent basis like K-Mag is doing, I don't necessarily trust Roman to finish in the points. I think he absolutely needs to finish in the points for Haas today. If K-Mag can finish where he has qualified, which I think is very possible, and Roman can get into the points, then for Haas, that's a good result. But I don't trust Roman that much to actually get into the points. Hopefully he can. But we know Romain Grosjean, guys. He can be very up and down, up and down, up and down. You never know what you're going to get from Romain Grosjean. Hopefully today we get the Romain Grosjean of Spa in 2015 and not the Romain Grosjean of Spain in 2018. Hopefully Romain can get into the points because the car deserves to be in the points because it is the best car in the midfield. Next up is Toro Rosso. Qualifying wasn't too bad. It could have been better, but it wasn't too bad. Albon P12 and Kvyat P15. Kvyat, I think the reason he didn't do a better lap or a lap at the end was because he had only a used set of tyres left. But race pace wise, from what I saw on Friday, they should have the pace to be in the points. They were one of the quickest teams in the midfield when it came to race pace in the race simulations on Friday. And with Albon P12, that's not bad of a starting position going into the Grand Prix. And I think Albon is maybe a surprise or a dark horse going into the Grand Prix for a small points finish for that team. But Toro Rosso, I'm going to be honest, they're not as quick as I thought they would be. I thought they would be more so in McLaren's position than where they are. I don't think they've been as quick as they really could have been this weekend. Slightly disappointing, but we know with Toro Rosso, they tend to always have good race pace, and if they can utilize that in the race, then they could, like they did in Melbourne, get another point. One team, though, that I don't see scoring points at all is Racing Point, because their car, to me, looks like the 9th worst car, or 9th best car, however you want to say it, on the grid. It's the worst car in that midfield battle. I think Perez, to be honest, did well to end up ahead of a Toro Rosso because I don't think the Racing Point can really, over a race distance or over a weekend, compete with the Toro Rosso, realistically. The Racing Point has just been terrible this weekend. I thought it would be better. But saying that, we've seen before from this team where they've had a poor qualifying at Bahrain. I think 2017... Perez had a poor qualifying. I think qualified 16th or 17th and he still scored points. So it's not impossible for them to not finish in the points, but they are the least likely to score points out of any midfield team. I just don't see it. They don't really have any grip. They don't have enough straight line speed compared to teams like Haas and Alfa Romeo. The Ferrari power unit looks great this weekend. So it's going to be tough. I mean, again, they could nick a point, but they're going to need a lot to go for them. A couple retirements, some great race pace, stuff like that. But for me, Racing Point have the worst car in the midfield. And then, of course, at the back is Williams. Hopefully for them, half the cars retire, or over half the cars retire, so they can score a point. That's the only way they can score points in 2019, is basically luck. That's the only way they can do it. But before I move on to the next topic, or the next couple topics, which are to do with some talking points for today's Grand Prix, let me know right now, guys, in the live chat, how do you think the midfield teams are going to perform? Do you think who do you think is going to be good today with race pace? Who do you think won't be good? Who's a one to watch, if you would say, or a dark horse? Let me know right now in the live chat, and for the next 5 minutes, I'll make sure to read out your comments and see what you guys have to say when it comes to the midfield. And I have to say, and it's nice to say, that I think even Racing Point can be included in this. The midfield is so close and competitive, and any of them really could finish in the points, and that's a great thing to say. That really is a great thing to say, and hopefully this continues for the rest of the season, and hopefully no one pulls too far away from the others. But let me now read what you guys have to say. In the chat, Dexter Hall says Ricardo is a dark horse. Definitely, because he is the first person to, on the grid, he is the first person to be able to go on a set of tyres that he wants to, and that's most likely going to be the medium tyre. I will get onto the tyre situation in, say, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes time, because it is interesting, and I think this race is going to be decided by pace on all the tyres that the teams use, and really how far you can get the tyres into the Grand Prix and how many stops that you will do. But yeah, he should be the one of the dark horses, because again, he can be on whatever tyre he wants to be, which will be the medium tyre, I think. And as long as he gets a good start, he should be able to be in there for the fight. But the Renault's saying that has not been that good this weekend, so we'll see. Mr. DJ Forever says McLaren, Haas, Alfa Romeo are the teams that he's looking out for, or the teams that are, you know, the ones to watch. TD Emmanuel says, I think Raikkonen will be good. Normally in the races at Bahrain, Kimi Raikkonen is very, very good. So I think Kimi will finish in the points, definitely. Where he will finish, I don't know, but I'm hoping for that team, considering the problems they've had, I'm hoping it's a top 8 finish for Alpha. Tonka Toy Truck says, pulling for the underdogs today, Sainz and Norris, also hoping Gasly can step it up, Perez too. Let's see if Gasly can step it up. Now, I know in Australia he did overtake one person, Antonio Giovinazzi, in the Australian Grand Prix. But he was very tentative with his overtaking opportunities in the Australian Grand Prix. It is tough to pass at Melbourne, but as Lando Norris proved in that Grand Prix, it's not impossible. And you can definitely make moves, there's no doubt about it. So I think Gasly, what he needs to do is forget all the pressure, all the media talk about, oh, he's going to be replaced and all of that stuff. Go out there, be aggressive, throw it down the inside, dive bomb everywhere. Just do that, because if you don't and you're tentative, again, you're not going to score points. You're just going to end up finishing where you did at the Australian Grand Prix, which is P11. So go out there, be aggressive, you know, get stuck in, throw it down the inside of some people, and yeah, get stuck in. Don't be scared to do so, because he has nothing to lose. He would actually do more for his reputation, if, in a positive way, if he was very aggressive today, got up to a good position, and then maybe had an accident. Even if it, you know, wasn't his fault, if he showed a bit more aggression and speed, even if he does crash, I think that would do more for his reputation than just sitting around in the midfield being tentative and not really going for moves. So, yeah, you know, just go out there and go for it. That's all I can say. Nicholas Kerban, Williams still sandbagging. Yep, indeed they are. Because we are on the desert, they have plenty of sandbags to put on for this weekend. So extra sandbags in the Williams team, which is nice to see. Right, let me find probably one more comment, then I'll move on to the next topic, which is to do with the battle at the top between Ferrari and Mercedes. Because Ferrari... all I'm going to say before I get into it is the last time Ferrari had a front row lockout, things didn't exactly go well. I'll get into that in a moment. And Alan says, I think Red Bull chassis isn't that good, so hopefully Gasly can pull it off. I think the Red Bull chassis is absolutely fine. I don't think there's any issues with it. I just think Gasly has struggled with the balance of the car, so I don't think it's a chassis issue. I think the issue Red Bull had was the soft tyre was not working on their car for some reason. But they've been a lot better on the medium tyres, so they should be stronger in the Grand Prix. And by the way, a Nib, I think, just mentioned this in the chat. It is very, very windy today. And also, there is a headwind into turn 4. So we are going to see plenty of overtaking and drivers making errors, I think, because it is not the easiest conditions for a Bahrain Grand Prix. And it is going to be quite a struggle for the guys out there. Everyone from Williams to Ferrari are going to be really fighting during this Grand Prix. But now let's move on to this next topic. Now, of course, Ferrari this weekend have responded to what happened at the Australian Grand Prix, where they were so disappointing, qualifying P3 and P5 and finishing P4 and P5 with no speed at all. They fixed the issues that they did have and responded. They finished 1-2 in every session during the Bahrain Grand Prix weekend so far. And things are looking great for Ferrari, you cannot doubt that. But the last time Ferrari had a front row lockout in Formula 1, it was quite an embarrassing tale, I think. And of course, that was the 2018 Italian Grand Prix. Now, you may think, oh, why are you bringing this up? This has no relevance to today. Well, for me, it does, because first off, you have Sebastian Vettel, who you would have thought would have been on pole in second. So Vettel is the second Ferrari on the grid. And Hamilton is in third, looking to be aggressive and go for moves and try and capitalize on a good start. Or, you know, when he gets the opportunity to make a move, then he will do so. So, because of that disaster that happened at Monza, and because the tracks are kind of similar, Bahrain and Monza, they are kind of similar tracks. You know, big stops in the braking zones and long straights, so you need the power and good brakes at this track, just like you do at Monza. So they're similar tracks, and for me, it's a similar situation. What do Ferrari need to do to avoid a similar disaster? Well, of course, at the start of the Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton was all over the Ferraris, especially Sebastian Vettel, and then Kimi Raikkonen, as you can see here on your screen. But the reason Mercedes won the Grand Prix, for me, was not only because of the better tyre wear, which could occur today, because remember, Ferrari's tyre wear in Melbourne was absolutely terrible, and it was terrible at that race as well, and not so good in Bahrain last year. So Ferrari's tyre wear at times can be a bit mystifying. They lost the Grand Prix because Sebastian Vettel had an incident at the start, of course, with Lewis Hamilton. Now, the one thing that should be clear and be made clear to the Ferrari drivers, it is, if things don't go well at the start and you don't get away 1-2 and you do lose a position to another car or a different car, do not go for silly moves and be overly aggressive in the first few 100 meters or, you know, the first lap of the Grand Prix. There's a long way to go, and just, you know, utilize the pace of your car and utilize the pace your car does have. That's what they need to do, because if they don't do that, they will end up in a similar situation to what happened at the 2018 Italian Grand Prix. If they do lose positions at the start to a different car, if they do then go overly aggressive and maybe start panicking a bit, then this sort of thing will happen, and they will gift Mercedes more points than maybe Mercedes deserve in terms of the pace of their car. And if they're not careful, they'll gift Mercedes even a race win, because as we saw at the Italian Grand Prix, because of Ferrari's terrible first lap, with Vettel falling down the field and Hamilton getting into second right behind Raikkonen, that was really the main reason why Ferrari did not win that Grand Prix. So in today's race, Ferrari have to make sure they focus on getting the start right, of course. But if they do lose positions, don't get overly aggressive and just, settle in for the long race ahead and utilize the pace of your car for the rest of the race. No need to be going for pointless overtakes in this Grand Prix. So they need to make sure they don't make that same error like they did in their last front row lockout in Monza. But Charles Leclerc and also the team principal Ferrari, Matteo Binotto, are sounding quite, not massively confident, but I think quietly confident of the car they do have. And this is what Charles Leclerc had to say after he got pole position. I feel more comfortable in the car lap after lap, so I'm satisfied. Before the race, we will talk with the team to find the perfect strategy in order to give the Scuderia the best possible result. The best strategy for this race I will get onto in a moment. And then Binotto, this is what he had to say. He said, "It's a very long way to the checkered flag and reliability will be important. We need to stay calm and concentrated." Exactly, as I was saying a minute ago, as our rivals will be trying to make our life difficult tomorrow. Absolutely. So hopefully they keep it, cool and calm at the start and don't lose their heads and go for overly aggressive overtakes when they don't need to. So hopefully they do not do that. But now I'm going to move on to a different topic. Actually, no, I just want to make one more point with this one before I go on to the next topic, which is to do with McLaren. If they don't get a good start, you know who is going to capitalize. It is, of course, this man on the screen, who is the best driver in Formula One, Lewis Hamilton. He so rarely makes mistakes. So if they do lose position to Lewis Hamilton, they are going to have one of the best races they've had in quite a while if they are going to get past him, because we know how good Lewis is, even in a car that is not the best on the grid. And you can go back to that example of the 2018 Italian Grand Prix where Hamilton was not in the best car that weekend. The Ferrari was the best car that weekend. And he pulled out a great performance. So they do have a very, very tough man to beat in this race. But now let's move on to the next topic, which is McLaren. Now, for me, McLaren, I wouldn't say are back properly. If they're back, then it'll be, a top 2-row qualifying position or race result for me. That's when McLaren are properly back, once they get into the top 3 on the grid on pure pace, or finish on the podium because of pure pace. I think McLaren in today's race are looking pretty good for a strong result, and I think McLaren, it is nice to see, and I think all of you guys can agree, it's nice to see that McLaren are back in a more normal position if they're not doing so well, because there has been times in the past where McLaren were not doing so well. For example, 94, 95, 1996, for example. So I think McLaren in this race I think they're going to have a good race. I think the race pace will be good, and they should end up finishing in the similar kind of position. But the reason I've really come onto this McLaren topic is because I want to hear from Carlos Sainz and hear his thoughts about what he thinks coming into this Grand Prix. And this is what he had to say. "The job is not finished. Indeed, I want my first points of the season, so now it's time to focus on the race. I think from P7, we have a good chance, so let's go for it." Indeed. Let's go for it indeed. And, well, they could they could maybe compete with Magnussen, with Carlos Sainz, but to be safe with their race, I don't think I would predict quite that, because I think that'd be a bit too high of a prediction, honestly, for McLaren. But I think I'm going to say it now as a prediction, I think they will score points with both cars. I think they have the pace. I think both drivers are looking good at this track. And the McLaren car just looks very settled. It doesn't look like it's going to drop back in the field and, you know, struggle for tyre wear or struggle for grip. It looks like it's going to be a strong and consistent points finish, I think, for McLaren. But now let's move on to another very key and also interesting topic. By the way, guys, just to let you know, in case you're wondering, we do have 15 minutes until the race starts. So don't worry, the race has not started yet. I'm just going through the build-up and, well, talking about some topics that are very important for this Grand Prix. And let's now go on to the tyres. Now, the tyre situation is not going to be massively interesting. The tyres will be the most key point of the Grand Prix, but it's not a massively interesting topic, because I think it will be a one-stop race for basically everyone, because the harder tyres are performing a lot better than the soft tyres. So for anyone on the soft tyre, starting on that tyre, which is everyone on the top 10, and then maybe someone outside the top 10 will start on the soft tyre. Maybe Gasly, if he wants to get into the top 10 at the start. But it's going to be a one-stop race. It's either going to be a soft to hard strategy, so, you know, starting on the soft and then going on to the hard tyre, or it will be a medium, you know, starting on the medium and then going to the hard tyre. That's what I think the strategy is going to be today. But this is very interesting to look at in terms of what, you know, new tyres certain people have, because it can have an interesting effect on the end result. So one interesting thing is that Verstappen, Vettel and Charles Leclerc all have an extra new set of medium tyres compared to the two Mercedes drivers. And also Lewis Hamilton has a new set of C3s, or the new set of the soft tyres. So Lewis Hamilton could, if Lewis Hamilton wants to be aggressive, he could go for a two-stop, but I think he will probably go for a one-stop. But if he wanted to, he could. But interestingly, Ferrari have two sets of new medium tyres. So if they did want to do a two-stop, they could, you know, pit for the medium tyres for the first time, say lap 15, and then pit again between lap 35 and 40 to go to the end. But I think it will be a soft to hard strategy for people in the top 10. And as we can see here, Perez and Stroll also, compared to most people, have an extra set of the medium compound. But most people have kind of the same sets of tyres. But again, it will be interesting to see if anyone starting on the soft goes to the medium. And also, watch out for a possible medium to soft strategy that could happen, say, for a Pierre Gasly. But most likely, it's going to be either going from the soft tyre to the hard tyre, or the medium tyre to the hard tyre. So don't expect the most extravagant or the most amount of pit stops ever in the history of the Bahrain Grand Prix, because I don't think there is going to be that many. But I think now I will get on to, finally, my predictions, I think, for this Grand Prix. And they are quite surprising. I'm not going to lie, they are quite surprising. You guys will be a bit surprised as to what I have gone for. And by the way, let me know, guys, in the live chat, who do you think will win this race, finishing second and finishing third, and then, you know, fourth, fifth and sixth, and so on and so forth. Let me know in the live chat, and I'll try to read out as many predictions as I can before the start of the Grand Prix. But now let me get into those predictions. So I think hold on a minute. I think Lewis Hamilton, sorry about my throat, it is as sore as always. I think Lewis Hamilton will win the 2019 Bahrain Grand Prix because I think the Mercedes is set up nicely for the Grand Prix. And I think it's more set up for the race than the Ferrari. I think Ferrari have set their cars up more so for qualifying than the race. I think they were desperate to get the front row. I think Mercedes always knew that they were going to be on the second row of the grid and that they weren't necessarily going to have the speed. So I think they've gone for a better strategy in setting up for the race more so than qualifying. And I think Lewis Hamilton will take his third win in Bahrain today. And also Mercedes are looking for their first win in Bahrain since 2016. In second, I am going for Charles Leclerc. He, of course, has his first ever pole position in Formula 1 and is looking for his first ever win. And Ferrari are looking for their third win in a row in Bahrain. The reason I think Leclerc is going to finish in second is because I think Lewis Hamilton will either jump one of the Ferraris or both of the Ferraris down to turn one. I think Lewis Hamilton will be in either first or second at the end of the first lap. That's why I think Lewis Hamilton will go on to win, because over the course of the race, I think he will have the pace to win. And of course, Lewis Hamilton is the best driver in Formula 1. He has such great experience in being in these kind of positions. Charles Leclerc has never ever been on pole. He's never led a Grand Prix, for real, in Formula 1 with a car that can actually win. So I think Charles will not crack under the pressure, but just won't have enough speed and maybe experience to actually carry out a race win for Ferrari. But I think we'll have a good race, and as long as he does finish on the podium, at least for me that is a good result for him. Not necessarily the team, but for him it's a good result. And in third place, I'm going for Max Verstappen, who is looking for his first podium in Bahrain, and Red Bull looking for their first podium in Bahrain since 2013. The last time they got that podium in 2013, it was actually a race victory by Sebastian Vettel ahead of Kimi Raikkonen and Romain Grosjean. That's a long time ago. But yeah, I think Verstappen will be aggressive. Of course, in Bahrain, you can definitely go for overtakes. You can dive bomb into, turn 1, turn 4. On the straight between turn 10 and 11, you can make a move, and into the final corner even. So I think Verstappen will be aggressive. I think the Red Bull car will be closer in terms of race pace, and I think he will be on the podium today. Now, the reason I've gone for this is because mainly of what I think will happen at the start. This is what I think will happen. I think Hamilton will get a good start and get up into either first or second. Vettel will drop back to, I'm going to say fourth, behind Bottas. And then I think somehow in the Grand Prix, Vettel and Verstappen will somehow get past Bottas, whether that's an overtake or through the pit stop phases. And then Verstappen, because I think he will have enough pace and probably will overtake Vettel on track like he did in Melbourne, I think he will end up then on the podium. So that is my predictions for the Grand Prix. I'll now cut to some final pictures before we get underway. The race starts, guys, in about 7 minutes time. So get your predictions flowing in the live chat, and I'll read out as many as I can. Again, don't forget to subscribe for more watch-alongs in 2019. I'm going to do this every race weekend for qualifying in the race. So don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe and hit the notifications bell for more content like this. But with about 6 minutes to go, let me now see what you guys have to say. And I just saw what Nib thought of my predictions out. I just saw a comment from him regarding it. And by the way, for people wondering in the chat, there won't be, live video coverage because copyright issues. And I don't think it'd be a smart thing to do that. My channel would get copyrighted very, very quickly. But now, let me read through some predictions. Let me just try and find some. Right. Dexter Hall says Lewis to win, and then Charles second, Bottas third. Formula Zone says Hamilton to win from Leclerc second, Bottas third. Joseph Fernandez says Charles to win from Hamilton, then Vettel. And we've got some more. Anders Ottersen, I think he is probably from Denmark, judging by that name. If I am wrong, then I'm sorry, but he says K-Mag on the podium. I don't think that's going to happen. Nicholas Kerban says Vettel to win from Leclerc second, Bottas third, and a Ferrari 1-2. Mr. DJ Forever says Leclerc to win from Vettel second, Bottas third, Verstappen fourth, Hamilton fifth, and Norris in P6. That's interesting. Astro Stevo says Leclerc to win from Hamilton, then Bottas, Danny Rick, Gasly, Sainz, Norris, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, and Albon. So you think that Vettel and Verstappen will retire from the race? I'm going to guess that you think because of contact, because we know whenever those two race each other hard, they do tend to make contact. And there you go, Nib saying that I'm tripping Major Nutsack making these predictions. I'm not just saying this to be different. I actually think this is what is going to happen. I think we're in for a lot closer of a race between the top three than people think. I don't think Ferrari are going to run away with it at all. I think Mercedes have been setting their car up for the race in a similar way to what Ferrari did in 2017, when Ferrari ended up quite far behind in qualifying that day, but they set their car up for the race instead, and that's why they were so far behind. And then for the race, they had the best car. So that's what I think will happen. There you go. There's a picture of the nice matte Ferrari, or matted Ferrari. James Evans says Vettel, Leclerc, Bottas, Hamilton, Magnussen, Verstappen, and Anders Ottersen says, I am Dane, thank you, man. I predicted that you were Danish because I don't think realistically anyone other than, people from that country would go for a Magnussen podium. But, if there's enough retirements ahead, who knows? Let me see if I can see any more. Phil Anthony, Leclerc to win from Hamilton second, Bottas third. Plenty of you, interestingly, not going for Vettel on the podium. I also didn't, but it's interesting to see that you guys are also kind of going for, Vettel to not be on the podium. Let me see if I can find any more. I don't think I can. If you do have, or if there is anyone out there that has any remaining predictions, make sure to put it in the chat. But I'll cut to that picture and now get the running order, if I can, started. Hold on a minute, it doesn't seem to be working for some reason. That's annoying. My graphic that I normally use to do it for some reason is not. Oh, now I see what the issue is. Hold on a minute. Let me just do this, and there you go. It was just slightly below where it should be. But there you go. The running order along your bottom is the starting grid for the Bahrain Grand Prix of 2019. And also, because of, I think, small complaints about maybe not quite knowing what was going on, I am going to put this in the... Hold on a minute. I'm going to put this in the top right, or top left, actually, of the screen. So, actually, I'll put lap 0 because we're not actually on the first lap at the minute. So we are about a minute away from the start of the formation lap here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. I will try to update the order and the lap counter as much as possible, but guys, honestly, don't expect me to be, you know, exactly up to date every single time. I'll try my best to update it as much as possible, but don't expect it to be instant because, yeah, it is tough to do when you're doing it all on your own. But I'll quickly post this picture as the formation lap is about to start. Hopefully no stallers on the grid. And the green light for start of the formation lap is about to go, and there you go. And yeah, everyone looks to be getting away just fine at the moment. So I'll quickly post this picture showing you really the scene currently in Bahrain. So there you go. Is just, well, it basically is now nighttime in Bahrain, and we are getting set for the start of this Grand Prix. By the way, guys, when it comes to the live chat, sorry if I don't pay much attention to it, but also you have to remember that I'm trying to, you know, do the commentary. Then also I've got to update the order, update the lap counter, get pictures. So I'll try to read out the chat when I can, but I can't promise that I'm going to do it that many times, to be honest. But remember, for an hour after the race, I will do a reaction with you guys to what has happened. So make sure to stick around until after the Grand Prix, as the two Ferrari drivers are now halfway through the formation lap. And we are about probably a minute away from the start of the Grand Prix here in the Sakhir Desert. Some people thought it was going to rain this weekend. You can clearly see why those people maybe are a bit stupid, because not a scent of rain out there. It is quite windy, but it's definitely not going to rain. Absolutely no way is it going to rain in the Bahrain Grand Prix. That's Charles Leclerc's car as he was preparing for the formation lap getting underway, but now we're almost at the end of the formation lap. How nervous is Charles Leclerc going to be? There's Mick Schumacher alongside the CEO of Ferrari. Of course, his father, the most successful and best driver in the history of the team. But how nervous is Charles Leclerc going to be starting on pole in Bahrain with Vettel and Hamilton right there ready to pounce? It's going to be the most nerve-wracking experience of his entire life, no doubt about it. Because they are not going to cut him any slack. They're going to be as aggressive as they want to. So they are now lining up on the grid. We have the back markers now coming onto the start-finish straight. So give it another 30 to 45 seconds and we'll be underway. As the Ferraris are lined up, the Mercedes are lined up, the Red Bull, Verstappen, then Magnussen are lined up now. By the way, I do want to say I am starting to like the black and gold on the Haas. I think it does look pretty good, especially at night time. But I now signal there that it's now about to be lap 1, as Williams's of George Russell and Robert Kubica line up on the grid for the Bahrain Grand Prix. And now it is 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights and 5 lights here in Bahrain. Lights out and away we go. And Valtteri Bottas has had a fantastic start in the Mercedes. Vettel has had a great start as well. He's into the lead ahead of Charles Leclerc. And you've got Leclerc trying to go around the outside. And I think Bottas is ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Yes, he is, right on the back of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc going very defensive. There's I think maybe an accident at the back. Yep, there definitely is. There is so many sparks. I can't even see what's happening. As Valtteri Bottas, does he go round the outside of Charles Leclerc? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Great move by Bottas. The beard powering him past his teammate and Charles Leclerc. Leclerc falling way down the grid, and McLaren is having issues. There's Verstappen right behind Hamilton and Leclerc. Hamilton, there's a yellow flag in sector 2. I think whatever that car was sparking, you couldn't even see the car. The sparks were that big. But we have Vettel leading from Bottas, just like it was last year. Then Leclerc, then Hamilton, then Verstappen, then Sainz, then Magnussen, Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Perez. Great start. And then who we have? Hulkenberg, Gasly, Albon, Norris. It was Norris who was going across the gravel, I think. Then Kvyat, Giovinazzi, Kubica, Russell, Stroll, and Grosjean. Of course, Roman Grosjean gets involved in accidents like he normally does. But now, and I think did something fall off the back of someone's car there? I don't know. But Charles Leclerc now comes onto the pit straight, and we are now into the second lap as Vettel is now leading down to turn 1. Leclerc, is he going for the move on Bottas? Is he going to make it? Yes, he does. Great move by Leclerc. Bottas seemed very, very slow on the apex of the corner. Lewis Hamilton's going to go round the outside into turn 4. He's going to do a switchback here. And will he make it work? I think he will make it work down the inside of Bottas. And he does. So Hamilton up to 3rd. Bottas down to 4th. So Bottas has gone from 2nd down to 4th. And by the way, with the running order, I'll update it once it settles down. If that ever happens, of course. As now Max Verstappen is all over the back of Valtteri Bottas. We have a yellow flag in sector 3. I think that's because of Stroll and Grosjean. Stroll taking on a new front wing. So obviously he has probably come together with... I don't know if he's come together with Grosjean, because I think Grosjean was too far ahead on the grid. I don't know. We'll have to see. But Vettel leading from Leclerc. Then Hamilton, then Bottas. Bottas, I think maybe Bottas has some kind of damage. He seems to be now going alarmingly down the field. There you go. That was the start here in Bahrain. And the midfield looks so close. Kimi Raikkonen's only half a second behind Kevin Magnussen. So looking competitive there in the midfield. We're now on lap 3. Leclerc, new fastest lap of 36.6. He's now going to hunt after his teammate Sebastian Vettel. Russell is passing Kubica there for 17th place. So Russell up to 17th. And that's probably the only time you're going to see Williams on the screen in 2019. But now the DRS is enabled. Of course, we have 3 activation points rather for this Grand Prix. So I'll now try to update the order. But as I can see right now on the timing screen, Charles Leclerc is catching Vettel back up. He's already took another 0.2 of a second out of Sebastian's lead. Now 0.3 of a second. So Charles is marching back as Carlos Sainz getting a run on Max Verstappen after Verstappen went wide in turn 10. Looking good there for Sainz, who is in 6th, and then it is K-Mag back in P7. Carlos Sainz looking very quick in the McLaren. Charles Leclerc looking very good as well. As I think now we're about to start lap 4, so I'll quickly... And Charles Leclerc does another fastest lap, a 1:36.3. Leclerc has took, I think, over half a second out of Vettel. And now Carlos Sainz closes on Verstappen. He's going to do a switchback through turn 1 and 2. Will he get the run? Let's see if this Renault really does have the grunt. Oh, yes, it does. Slipstream, DRS. Does he go around the outside? Oh, there's major racing in the background. This is great stuff. I saw Mental moving across the track with a Renault in a racing point, and it was Hulk. Oh, Carlos Sainz Carlos Sainz has a problem. I think he has a puncture. And, oh, the absolute chaos in the field. You got Magnussen there just about holding off Raikkonen. And Ricciardo there is wide. And, oh my, there's absolute chaos here. Hulkenberg. Has Hulkenberg passed Perez? Yes, he has. Gasly sticking his nose in where it is not welcome. And, yet Sainz. Oh, that's such a shame. But here comes Perez. Back on Hulkenberg. Round the outside. I don't even know who, if anyone's being overtaken or not. There's just so much action. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm probably just going to get rid of this lap counter because I don't think I'll have enough time to actually update it. But Charles Leclerc is now within DRS of Sebastian Vettel. So Vettel is struggling for speed right now. But I'm going to try and update the order. But guys, the midfield is so close. And Charles, sticking his nose in where it wasn't welcome into turn 1. He's only 4 tenths behind Vettel. Charles had a look and Sebastian wasn't exactly closing the door. Leclerc looks to the inside. Leclerc looks way faster in every way, really. And by the way, Daniel Ricciardo is now up to P7 and only 0.3 of a second behind K-Mag. So Daniel's having a great Grand Prix. He's gone from P10 on the grid to P7. But I'm now gonna try, if I can, and update the order. I will say I feel sorry for Carlos Sainz. I want to see a replay to see if what contact there actually was, because we didn't get a good enough view of it, I'm afraid. Charles Leclerc, though, in or within DRS of Vettel. Is team orders now going to come into play? This will be interesting to see. It was a big talking point from Australia, but to be honest, Sebastian, Charles is faster than you. And I think that's pretty clear to see. As, yeah, he's definitely going to get a run down here to turn 1. Does he get a run? Yes, he does. Here comes Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel. Vettel defends. Charles goes to the outside and drives right around the outside of the world, the 4-time world champion. He's absolutely mugged Vettel off, but Vettel will come back with DRS. Charles will defend aggressively to the inside. Such aggressive racing between the two Ferraris. And has Charles gone wide there? No, he has not. Great move by Charles Leclerc. Absolutely mugging Vettel off, making him look like an amateur. Just drove straight around the outside of him. What an absolutely fantastic race. It's only about 5 laps in, and we've had enough action to make a good enough race overall. What an absolute mental Grand Prix. As we're seeing a replay here of the start. Sebastian just got a better traction off the line. But I will say the way Charles has just marched back through the field is incredible. He went down the inside of Bottas, kind of dangled his nose in there. Bottas kind of got a bit scared and gave it up. Here's Lance Stroll's on board. Yep, he definitely hit Grosjean. I'm not sure is that Stroll's fault? Yeah, that's Stroll's fault. He had enough room there, did Lance. That's definitely Lance's fault. And then Lance's car sparking so much. That's what that car was. Hamilton then had a daring move around the outside of Charles. It's on the start, and I think, yeah, contact was made. So lucky there for Leclerc, didn't get a puncture. But there you go. I'm waiting for them to come back from a replay so I can actually update the order as to what it actually is. I believe the two Williamses are in 16th, 17th. Here is the... Right, so Verstappen has clumped the inside curb and gone straight into the side of Carlos Sainz. I want to see Max is on board with that, because if he has, unnecessarily dove up the inside, then that could be a penalty for causing an unnecessary collision. You never know. But Carlos Sainz, unfortunately, is now at the back. By the way, Robert Kubica as Pierre Gasly. No, he's holding off Alexander Albon. Robert Kubica has repassed George Russell. And Daniel Ricciardo is now up to P6. And Kevin Magnussen has gone back down to P10 for some reason. So Ricciardo flying in this race and only 5 seconds behind Verstappen. And the two Toro Rossos are racing very aggressively. I'm literally just sat here trying to update the order because it's just changing around so much as Carlos Sainz has done a new fastest lap. That shows you the importance of fresh tyres. But Charles Leclerc has now pulled the gap to 1.6 seconds to Vettel. So it shows you that Charles is way faster, not even competitive at the moment. As Hülkenberg has a run on Raikkonen, will he go for the move? Oh, he locks up and almost goes straight into the back of Kimi Raikkonen. But you have to say, Haas's race is turning into an absolute disaster at the moment. They're P10 and P19. That's not what they would have wanted at all. But Perez up to 9th. That's a great job by him. Norris is up to 11th. And this is Raikkonen down the inside of K-Mag. Goes deep. So Ricciardo's already got past at that point. So I'm guessing that Haas is struggling on its tyres. Because there was no issue there in terms of crashing or anything like that. But now I think I will finally be able to have an order that is actually the correct one. That's how much racing has been going on here in Bahrain. So there you go. That is the order. Charles Leclerc leads from Sebastian Vettel in 2nd. Lewis Hamilton is 3rd. Bottas is 4th. Verstappen is 5th. Ricciardo 6th. Raikkonen 7th. Hülkenberg 8th. Perez 9th. Magnussen 10th. And then Norris 11th. Gasly 12th. And then Albon, Kvyat, Giovinazzi, Kubica, Russell, Stroll, Grosjean, and Charles Leclerc locking up and going off the track there at turn 10. And then Carlos Sainz at the back because of contact with Leclerc losing the back end there. Hopefully doesn't have an issue, but seems to be pushing a bit too hard. Maybe for his own good. As Norris has passed K-Mag. I think Haas have really bad tyre wear. I think that's what's going on here. As Magnussen gets in the slipstream with the McLaren. Gasly. Oh, Gasly's so close to the rear end of the Haas there. Norris is going to defend for all his might. And Lando Norris is up to P9. Sergio Perez has dropped down to P17. So what's happened to Perez? There's no way Perez is pitted. Surely not. But there you go. Verstappen and Sainz is under investigation by the stewards. I want to see Verstappen's on board of that. Because if he unnecessarily went over the curb and into Sainz, then I think Verstappen deserves a penalty. But I'll now post a quick picture showing the Vettel-Leclerc battle. Leclerc absolutely mugging Sebastian around the outside. As we got a great fight here for the final point. And it's only 10 laps in. Oh, I cannot wait for the next 47. And there you go. Leclerc pulling ahead of Vettel with such authority for a 21-year-old, as Gasly and Albon are in the pits. So is Kimi Raikkonen. So they're starting to pit already by lap 10. What tyres are they going to go for on Gasly's car? Another set? Is that another set of the soft tyres? There's an issue on that car. So they are committed to a 2-stop, I believe. I believe he started on the soft. So they are committed to another stop. Kimi Raikkonen comes out on the medium. Perez Right, so Perez pitted. That's why they're all pitting. Perez pitted. We didn't actually see that. And there's no investigation necessary for Grosjean and Lance Stroll. As Gasly now comes out onto the track in P17. I'll update the order, guys, once we finally have a consistent order after the pit stop phase, because right now it's pretty all over the place. As Hamilton also looks up the inside front and goes technically off the track. Not massively, only very, very slightly. But Leclerc leads by 2.3 from Vettel in second and Hamilton, Bottas. Verstappen's hanging on, though, in fifth. And then you got the two Renaults, sixth and seventh. Then Norris, eighth. Magnussen, ninth. Kvyat, 10th. By the way, if the order is not the same as it is on the bottom of the screen, that's because I have not updated it yet, and I'm going to wait to update it until the order actually settles down, because we are currently, by the looks of it, in the midfield in the pit stop phase. Here's a replay there of Leclerc. DRS, slipstream, and just belts it right around the outside. And with ease, passes Vettel. Just, yeah, charges around the outside and marches past him. As his manager there, Nicholas Tott, looking very, very anxious. As Norris and Magnussen are pitted. Will Magnussen make it out before Gasly? Gasly locks up and will go wide. And that's Albon in the Toro Rosso that will now gain a slipstream and DRS on Gasly. Gasly doesn't have DRS for some reason. Albon. Will Albon go around the outside? Oh, Gasly almost hit his rear tyre then. Absolutely eliminated him from the Grand Prix. And by the way, Robert Kubica is in P10 at the moment. Hopefully they can keep up that kind of performance. As I say that, Kimi Raikkonen passes Kubica. But the midfield is so close at the moment. And by the looks of it, most people started on the soft compound, which is a bit of a surprise, because I thought everyone outside the top 10 who qualified outside the top 10 would go for a medium set to start with. But they haven't. As Max Verstappen pits for medium tyres, that will allow Ricciardo up to 5th and then Hülkenberg. Because Verstappen's not that far ahead of the midfield, he's going to come out in traffic. He's going to come out behind, Kvyat and Giovinazzi and Kvyat battling over what is right now P7. Got Williams pitting, I think, in the background. Robert Kubica. But Verstappen now has pitted and come out. By the way, Lewis Hamilton now within DRS zone of Sebastian Vettel. He's only 0.8 of a second behind Vettel. As this is a replay of Pierre Gasly's pit stop. Too slow on the left rear tyre. That was the issue. But yeah, Hamilton's now within a second or about a second behind Vettel. And Vettel is continuously losing time to Charles Leclerc. Leclerc's just pulling away relentlessly. And I think, Hamilton will get the DRS here, I'm pretty sure. But they are coming into pit for someone. Will it be Lewis Hamilton? No, it will not. As we've got Toro Rosso off the track, it's Danny Kvyat. Was there contact between him and Antonio Giovinazzi? I think there was, because the marking on the left rear tyre is no longer there. Valtteri Bottas has pitted. Hamilton is now only half a second behind Vettel. I think we should see that, honestly, Mr. Director. Where will Bottas come out? And here is Hamilton. DRS on Vettel into turn 4. Vettel is under serious pressure now. And Bottas is only 0.3 of a second ahead of Verstappen. We need to see that right now. We need to see that. Verstappen's got a run on Bottas on the run to turn 4, I'm pretty sure. We're not seeing it. And here is Giovinazzi. And that is definitely Giovinazzi's fault. He had plenty, Kvyat gave him plenty of room. and he just slid straight into him. So Giovinazzi should be getting a penalty for that pretty soon, as he's ruined Kvyat's Grand Prix. Verstappen has passed Bottas. Verstappen is past Valtteri Bottas, and there you can see on the screen. So Verstappen on the run to turn 4 passed Bottas, but will Valtteri use the superior engine power and straight line speed to get past? He has the DRS on Max Verstappen. By the way, one man who's having a great race is Daniel Ricciardo. He's up to P4 now, but of course has not stopped. Leclerc has pitted. Leclerc is in the pits for a set of medium tyres. Here he comes, lap 14. Medium tyres go on. Great pit stop by Ferrari, 2.3 seconds. And Lewis Hamilton pits for another set of soft tyres. So Mercedes are committing to a 2-stop with Lewis Hamilton. So they're splitting the strategy, I'm pretty sure, at Mercedes. I think Bottas will try to go to the end. And Hamilton is definitely on a 2-stop because he has to use different types of tyre. Bottas, he's going around the outside of Verstappen into turn 1, locks the inside front. And he's right behind Verstappen. Verstappen does the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Valtteri's going to get another run though, up to turn 4. Verstappen defends the inside. And Bottas swings around the outside. Does he make it? Does he ever make it? Wow, what a move by Bottas, again mugging Verstappen off like Leclerc did to Vettel. Great move. Absolutely brilliant. But there you go. So Bottas reclaims a net P4. Saying that though, Vettel is still out on track. So these two, Bottas and Verstappen, are going to gain lap time quite a bit on Vettel because the undercut is very powerful in Bahrain. So Vettel surely has to pit this lap because if he doesn't, he'll get jumped by Bottas and Verstappen, and yes, he does. Sebastian Vettel pits, and if Daniel Ricciardo stays out, he will lead the Bahrain Grand Prix, even though he has not stopped. Hopefully he does stay out. That'd be a great thing to see. And he comes in for a set of mediums. And that pit stop is a-okay. Not as fast as Leclerc's, I don't think. Actually faster by 0.2 of a second, but there goes Leclerc, and there will go Lewis Hamilton flying past on the pit straight, but Lewis Hamilton will have to pit again because you have to use 2 different types of tyre. Lewis has only used the soft. Vettel has gone from soft to medium, so Vettel could, if he wanted to, go to the end of the Grand Prix. And I believe, am I seeing that right? Nico Hülkenberg doing the fastest lap of the race. That's unbelievable. Yes, he has a 35.2. What an incredible race this is. As Leclerc has passed Ricciardo on track, I think. Has he passed him on track? Yes, he has. Leclerc passed Ricciardo on the run down to turn 4. So, I am now going to update the order because I think we've had plenty of pit stops now, and I'll now update the order. And then Kvyat and Giovinazzi, by the way, are under investigation. So Vettel has dropped down to a net P3, but Hamilton has to pit again. And that is very important for this Grand Prix. Very important. So you got Hamilton currently in 3rd. Ricciardo is being closed on by Lewis Hamilton. If Ricciardo is smart, you know what? Ricciardo can stay out if he wants to. He's not going to lose time if he gets passed by Hamilton. And yeah, he's going to stay out, Ricciardo. Even though Ricciardo will get overtook, he's not going to lose any time because he won't have to go defensive or offline. And that's exactly what Daniel does. He stays on the racing line and drops down to P3 behind Lewis Hamilton, who's now up to P2 and now has to go hunting after Charles Leclerc, who has just done the fastest lap in the 1:33 33s. If anyone goes for a fastest lap point at the end, they're not going to be that far off the lap record, which has never been, or hasn't been broken here since 2005. So you got Bottas in 5th, Max Verstappen in 6th. That's a net P5 though, because Ricciardo has not pitted. Raikkonen P7. Kimi's having a good race, even though he's been involved in so many different battles out there. And they got Giovinazzi in P8, as Vettel has or is currently passing Ricciardo on the run down to turn 11. So Ricciardo now down to P4. You got Hulkenberg has just passed Giovinazzi. So Giovinazzi is now 9th, not 8th. So I'll quickly update that. Hulkenberg also having a good race. So Renault and Alpha seem to be having strong races. Kind of expected from Renault to be, or to have a better race than qualifying, but Alpha not necessarily. We've got Norris in 10th, Perez 11th, Magnussen 12th. Magnussen's got to now try and make up for all of those positions lost. As right, Giovinazzi's pitting. That's great news for Lando Norris. He doesn't want another race in a row where he's stuck behind an Alfa Romeo. So Giovinazzi has pitted. So I might as well just wait for him to wait to see where he feeds onto the track, because he was in 9th place and about to be overtook. But the race has now finally, well, no, I was going to say it's settled down, but no, it has not, because Gasly has just made a move on Kevin Magnussen on the soft compound tyre and has got past. So Gasly now up to P11. I was about to say it's settled down. Why did I even think that was the case? As Albon, no, he won't be able to go for a move there. Albon also on the soft compound. So he will be pitting again. So we've got some 2-stop strategies out there. Most likely, I think Hamilton, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Albon, and Kubica are on 2 stops in this Grand Prix. But now Gasly is up to P11, and then Albon is P13. Giovinazzi has actually come out ahead of Kvyat, but that's understandable because he, hit Kvyat, and Kvyat definitely lost time. We've got someone else in the pits, Romain Grosjean. By the way, Bottas is about to pass Daniel Ricciardo, not into turn 1 though. I have to say with Bottas, it kind of, he hasn't had a terrible race, but kind of shades of what he was like at the end of last season. Bit too passive for me at times. And Bottas, just pulls ahead of Ricciardo. Bottas up to, and Romain Grosjean is out of the Grand Prix. Danny Kvyat has a penalty, but not for the Giovinazzi crash. It's for speeding in the pit lane, which of course is a slam dunk penalty. So Romain Grosjean is your first retirement of the Bahrain Grand Prix of 2019. Disappointing, but let's be honest, we expected it. Well, we expected it after the start. I wouldn't say we expected it off the line. But there is the order now finally along the bottom of your screen. That is the correct order at the moment. Actually, no, it is not, because Max Verstappen has just passed Daniel Ricciardo. So I'll quickly update that. You guys, is Ricciardo going to pit? No, he does not. Ricciardo, it looks as though he's going to try and just, continue to stay out until the midfield runners pit again. And then he will come in and do a 1-stop, probably onto the medium. But one thing that is quite interesting is Charles Leclerc, who is on the medium tyre in the lead, is pulling away from Lewis Hamilton, who is on the faster compound. And that tells you that the soft compound is not working. And I'm going to be honest, I understand what Mercedes were trying to do, but I don't think it was ever really going to work. It was going to work to get past Vettel, but this is the issue. Lewis Hamilton he's not that far ahead of his teammate and Verstappen, or even the front of the midfield. So he is going to come out in traffic if he stays out too long on that, well, bad or dead tyre of his. But I haven't for a while posted a picture, so I will right now, and I'll post one of the race leader, who is continuously pulling away. Lewis Hamilton goes miles off the track at the final corner and has lost about 0.7 of a second in that corner alone. Yep, his tyres, I think, are starting to suffer, and you can see markings on the inside front right. What happened here? Yeah, there's just no front grip, and you can see it. If you look closely, guys, you can see tyre graining on his front right, and that's the not the tyre that would be turning in the most for that corner, but his front tyres look to me to be a bit dead, if not completely. So Lewis is now going to come under pressure from Sebastian Vettel, presumably, because Vettel has already took about 0.2 of a second out of Hamilton. There's no further action between Kvyat and Giovinazzi, which for me is not good enough from the stewards. That for me is a clear penalty for Giovinazzi. Ran straight into him and took him off the road. That's a clear penalty. I don't get why they've come to that decision. But now we have, this is not Ricciardo, this is Nico Hülkenberg, only half a second behind Kimi Räikkönen. So Hülkenberg, even though he is going to pit again because he has not used, I think, the medium compound and has only used the soft compound so far, looking quick as he is catching the Alpha of Kimi Räikkönen. And yeah, the Alpha doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look like it right now has enough grip to really keep the Renault seriously at bay. Or the Alpha struggling slightly there on turn-in. Kind of so the Renault. Now let's see the Renault power unit. Let's see if it's, has been upgraded. Oh, it definitely has. Look at that. That's an easy overtake. Pushes Räikkönen out, and Kimi will try to get a run towards turn 4, but I don't think Kimi is going to be able to make a move. He does get a great run in DRS, and Hülkenberg defends. Will Kimi be aggressive? No, he never really is when it comes to overtaking. He tends to be quite cautious. Tends to only, do his own race, doesn't want to get involved with other people. But there you go, Hülkenberg's up to P7. So P6 and P7 for Renault. That's where you would have expected them to be in 2019. But Hülkenberg has to pit again. Kimi Räikkönen does not. And Daniel Ricciardo has not pitted yet. So it's not a genuine position right now. Hülkenberg will have to do plenty of overtaking before the end of the Grand Prix. He'll have to overtake. If he wants to get back into that position, he'll have to overtake 6 or 7 racing cars out there. As now Hamilton, who is in second, continuously dropping back from Leclerc, is now under pressure from Vettel, who has DRS down to turn 1. And you have to say the Ferraris definitely have the better race pace. Leclerc relentlessly pulling away, and now Vettel on the harder compound of tyre is catching Hamilton up very nicely. And Hamilton again doesn't look like he has any front tyre grip, and looks as though to me he will be falling into the clutches of Vettel pretty soon. By the way, I just want to point this out. Ricciardo, he's only 9 seconds behind Verstappen. Verstappen has already pitted. Daniel Ricciardo has not. Verstappen doesn't have to pit again. But Ricciardo will be a lot better on tyres at the end. So watch out for Daniel Ricciardo and the Renaults, to be honest, at the end of this race. As Vettel is only half a second behind Hamilton. Now, the last time these two raced each other properly, I think was Mexico in 2018. But these two have made contact before, and whenever they do, we all know that the whole F1 community does get up in arms. So hopefully nothing too bad. Hopefully just a very strong battle. But Vettel, is he closer? Slightly closer, but he will not be making a move down into turn number 1 because he's too far behind. He's only half a second behind, though. He might be able to go for a move in turn 4. Yeah, he will be able to go for a move in turn 4 because Lewis Hamilton goes wide in turn 1. Here we go. Vettel versus Hamilton. Slipstream DRS. Hamilton defends the best he could, but Vettel has way too much grip and pulls around the outside and takes the position. Lewis did the best he could, but Vettel in that Ferrari on those tyres around this track has too much grip for Hamilton. Lewis is a great driver, but he can't possibly at the moment fight on those tyres because they're dead tyres. And the Ferrari in a straight line is easily the fastest in Formula 1 right now. Hamilton, though, will get DRS back on Vettel, but I don't think he'll be able to live with him around the final sector to get DRS again onto the pit straight. But I'll quickly, if I can, post a different picture. I want to just post this picture to see the replay of Vettel passing Hamilton. I want to post this picture to show the sparks at the start. Sparking away like mad was the racing point. And here you go, as Hamilton does have DRS on Vettel, so he's hanging on for the time being, that is. But Hamilton, because he has less straight line speed in his car, he will not be able to make a move. But there you go. Look at those sparks. This isn't the best quality of picture, but I just want to show that to you guys because for me that is a rather interesting picture. But now I'll just quickly update the order for second. So second is Vettel. And Lewis Hamilton is now third. By the way, it is lap 24 out of 57. And we have now Leclerc leading, Vettel second, Hamilton third, Bottas fourth, Verstappen fifth, Ricciardo in sixth, Hülkenberg seventh, Raikkonen eighth, and then Norris ninth. Gasly has got to P10 on his soft compound tyres, but to be honest, with the pace he has, he's not looking that good for a points finish because he will have to pit again. And then you've got Sergio Perez in P11, as this is a lock-up by Vettel on his medium compound. And then I think, and yeah, that's Vettel going wide. That's probably why Hamilton got a better run. Yeah, that is. And, well, almost gave Hamilton the position back. Hopefully he doesn't do that again. Does Hamilton have DRS? No, he does not now. And now that he doesn't have DRS, he will now lose a lot of time to Vettel. Because Vettel has superior straight line speed, superior aerodynamic grip, and is on the better tyres. So Hamilton will now drop back a lot. And I think Mercedes now have to start thinking about plan. I think, well, I'd say, yeah, plan B, unless that was their plan B. I don't know. As Daniel Ricciardo has finally pitted, where will he come out? I think he'll come out behind Gasly. Yes, he will, and he'll come up behind Perez and Albon. So Ricciardo's going to drop back to 13th on the tracker. So Daniel Ricciardo has made his first and likely only pit stop of the Grand Prix and has dropped back to 13th. But now he has fresh tyres, he can now get after the rest of the midfield runners and doesn't have to stop again. There's no way he'll have to stop again. We don't know, though, what tyres he is on. Presumably mediums, as Norris is right behind Kimi Raikkonen. If you did not watch F2, then you won't know that Lando Norris is a supreme overtaker. And he is not scared of going for a daring move. Absolutely will go for the move if it's even slightly there. As Charles Leclerc, I think, has just done another fastest lap as Carlos Sainz has just pitted. Shame for Carlos because he was looking very quick, but it's all really gone away from him. Perez is P10. Albon looking quite decent in P11. And then you got K-Mag P12, who's having an absolute shocker. Haasa having an absolute shocker. And this is why they don't really... hold on a minute. Lando Norris, when he go down the inside of Kimi Raikkonen. Yes, he does. On the medium compound tyres in the McLaren. Goes down the inside. But Kimi will get a run on Lando. Yep, Kimi will probably get back past Norris. I don't know why Norris is using the DRS because Kimi was behind. So I don't know if he illegally used the DRS there. I don't know. But Norris is up to P7 no matter what. So Norris now P7 and Kimi Raikkonen drops back to P8. And now that move, that's not a false move. That is a move for position. So Lando looking good for maybe a P6 in this Grand Prix. You never know. As, by the way, Alexander Albon has just pitted. He is on a 2-stop. So he will now be... He's now going to have to push like crazy if he's going to finish in the points. But we'll now see what he's made of in that Toro Rosso. So Ricciardo now P12. Giovinazzi, I'm going to say Giovinazzi's having a pretty good race compared to what he's been like this weekend. So even though I've been harsh on him, I will admit that so far, even though he should have had a penalty for what he did to Kvyat, he's having a good race. Is Antonio for once. There you go. The order is now absolutely correct, as it is a Ferrari 1-2, lap 27 out of 57. Got another 30 to go. We're only halfway through the the Bahrain Grand Prix. Only halfway through the Bahrain Grand Prix. And Ferrari looks like they're planning to pit again. Will the medium tyres go the distance? That's going to be something to look out for. As Leclerc laps. Is that Robert Kubica? I think it is. So he's lapped 17th. George Russell has just pitted, I'm pretty sure. Yep, he has. He's lapped up to 16th place now. He now has to lap Albon, who will be pretty quick, though, on his tyres. Here is a picture of how Vettel got past Hamilton round the outside at turn 4. Hamilton just did not have the grip to compete with Vettel's car. The Ferrari is the faster car. I think it's absolutely clear to see, and even in a race situation, that Ferrari looking very quick. By the way, the tyre situation, everyone is on mediums except for Hamilton, who's on soft, Hülkenberg is on soft, Gasly's on soft, Kubica is on soft, and Carlos Sainz, who is last of all the runners, is on the hard compound tyre. So there you go. I don't think, by the way, Williams are going to finish ahead of Stroll and Sainz. I think Stroll and Sainz will still get past them because the Williamses are still very slow. But there you go. That's the order. As we're seeing now, a replay of Vettel getting past Charles Leclerc down the inside. Great start for Vettel, but everything after that has been, I wouldn't say poor, but not that good. I mean, he put a good move on Hamilton to get past, but compared to Charles Leclerc, his teammate, he's been nowhere near as quick this weekend or in this race. As for some reason, we're seeing replays of the start. I don't know why. We should be seeing the track right now, because I think we do have a quite interesting race still on our hands, even though the track action has calmed down a bit. Interestingly, Lewis Hamilton has maintained the gap between him and Vettel to 2.5 seconds. Hamilton on another set of softs, Vettel on mediums. They've both have the same tyre age, and as well Charles Leclerc about 15 laps. Very interesting to see that, as Robert Kubica has just pitted and gone behind Stroll and probably Carlos Sainz. So I think Robert is probably now going to most likely finish at the back of the grid. But right now the race has settled down. There's no one is within DRS of anyone at the moment. Everyone is separated in their gaps. Yeah, at the moment I'm just seeing if there's any differences in the running order. The only difference is Kubica, who is only 0.6 of a second behind Stroll. So maybe there'll be a move there, but the Racing Point, even on older tyres, should just pull away. Let me just quickly update that. So there you go. Stroll 17th, Kubica 18th. And here is an onboard of Daniel Ricciardo, who is now only a second behind Kevin Magnussen. This is the battle for P11, and I'm going to be honest, I think Haas still have those issues from last year. They cannot manage their tyres well. They do not have good tyre wear at all. And Bahrain, you cannot have bad tyre wear. If you have bad tyre wear, you will not have a successful race. As Ricciardo, will he go for the inside? No, he will not. But yeah, if you have bad tyre wear at this track, you're going to struggle. No team with bad tyre wear has ever done well at this track. So you've got to be able to look after your tyres, especially your rear tyres. It's a rear limited track. But I think Ricciardo could make a move on K-Mag down to turn 1 if he keeps up this sort of speed. And yeah, he'll make a move on K-Mag. K-Mag will have nothing to defend with. The Renault in a straight line, I have to say, is so quick. They've definitely made upgrades. And here goes Ricciardo, and he flies past. Not even competitive between Ricciardo and Magnussen. And I did not think I'd be saying that after yesterday. So great there by Daniel Ricciardo. As Charles Leclerc is still pulling away from his teammate. This is a great way to win your first ever race if he is going to win it, because he's dominating the race. Just like Bottas, he's relentlessly pulling away and just cannot be touched in this Grand Prix. And you cannot doubt Leclerc deserves to win this race if he does, because he had to, he dropped back and then passed his teammate and Bottas in 7 laps of dropping back? That's an incredible feat to do that. So far, I think Charles does or would deserve to finish on the, or deserve to win this Grand Prix. Let me see if I can post a different picture. I don't think I can at the moment, because there isn't really any new ones. But I will say, unfortunately, compared to the first stint of the race before the pit stops, it has really calmed down and there's no real racing going on. No one is really that close to anyone else. We do have this. Oh no, that's Max Verstappen lapping Stroll, Kubica and Sainz. Yeah, we don't really have any racing on track anymore. There's no real fights going on. The only fight is the fight not to be last between Robert Kubica and Carlos Sainz. Don't go for a silly move, Lance. Don't do what Ocon did, or else you will be probably assaulted after the race by Mad Max. But yeah, the only fight on track right now is the fight not to be last between Carlos Sainz and Robert Kubica. And I think Carlos is going to win that battle because the Williams is so slow. But hopefully, well, we should see some racing once Lewis Hamilton pits and also once Hülkenberg pits. Ricciardo is catching the other people, and here comes Stroll again. Verstappen taking it very easy, I think. I think Stroll needs to stop. This is ridiculous. Well, he has passed him, but I don't think Lance is that much faster. I think the only reason he's gaining is because of DRS, as Carlos Sainz has passed Robert Kubica. No surprise, Williams is terrible. Well, if Stroll can pull away, then that's all, well and fair. Because if you are going to unlap yourself, you've got to show that you can pull away. You can't, overtake so you have better straight line speed and then you just hold the guy up. So let's see if he can pull away. Then we can make a verdict on whether he should let Max through or not. And here you go, replay. Max definitely would have been cursing in that helmet, no doubt about that. But let me quickly put Sainz ahead of Kubica in my running order. There you go, Sainz 18th and Kubica in 19th. And that's another replay of Lewis Hamilton locking up the soft tyre. He will have to pit again, as now Carlos Sainz is catching Verstappen. I've noticed as well, Hülkenberg is catching Verstappen. And is Max coming in? Yes, he is. Maybe he has some kind of flat tyre or something. I think he does. He's moving around a bit in the pit lane. Does he have a slow puncture? I don't know. But here he comes in for another set of the medium tyres. He did have 2 sets of the mediums. Slow pit stop. But yeah, he had 2 sets of the medium tyres as Hülkenberg pits for Renault. He is on a 2-stop as Lando Norris is in P5. And that's genuine, by the way. That's not a false position. Verstappen has just fed in behind Kimi Raikkonen. So Verstappen is P7. He should pass Raikkonen and Norris with relative ease. The Red Bull aerodynamically is way ahead and should have enough grip to get a run on the Alpha, and then the McLaren ahead plenty of times. So Verstappen should be past Kimi in a jiffy. Yep, down the inside of Kimi Raikkonen. Kimi's not going to give up, but I think Verstappen forced him to give up. So Max is now up to P6 and now has 4 seconds to catch Lando Norris, which he will catch because Norris does not have the pace to keep Max behind. And there was an issue on the left front. That's why Red Bull's pit stop was probably 2 seconds slower than it needed to be. Yeah, Verstappen P6. Who else have we got? Hülkenberg, who has just pitted, is half a second behind Perez. And Giovinazzi is only 0.3 of a second behind Magnussen. So I'd like to see that, please, as Giovinazzi is about to pass Magnussen. And I'm looking at the timing screen. Yeah, Giovinazzi has passed Kevin Magnussen. It goes from bad to worse for Haas. Magnussen will get a run, I assume. No, he won't. Gasly has passed Kimi Raikkonen. Does Kimi have an issue? I don't know. Oh no, he's pitting again. Kimi Raikkonen pits again for the soft tyre. That's an interesting strategy they've gone for there. They've basically given Ricciardo position over them and Hülkenberg, so Kimi is going to have a tough job to score points today. But I'll now update the running order as... Oh, that was so close. Albon and Raikkonen. Perez, by the way, has also pitted. So I think the midfield runners the ones that pitted earlier on are going to have to pit again then, by the looks of it. The medium's not hanging on as well as they probably wanted it to. Verstappen has caught Norris so quickly. And Raikkonen, oh, so close there with Albon, as Lewis Hamilton has pitted again for the soft compound tyre. And Bottas is now up to third. And Kimi overtakes Alexander Albon, and now he's going to go for the move on Kvyat. Kimi is on the soft tyres, so you'd expect this to happen. He's on a much faster tyre and is in a faster car. As Albon now gets a run on Kvyat. Oh, Albon diving down the inside. That's a great move. Kvyat there will get a slight run around the outside. Norris is pitted, so we're getting some good pit stops happening now. Lewis Hamilton has dropped fourth, and he's about half a pit stop behind Valtteri Bottas. So what's going to happen there? Will Bottas and Hamilton be allowed to race? Or will Hamilton be ordered past? We'll have to see. We now Verstappen in fifth. Gasly is sixth. Gasly, they will have to pit again because he hasn't used both types of tyre. Daniel Ricciardo, and this is Hamilton lapping Stroll. Hamilton looks like he's pushing hard now. Ricciardo won't have to pit again because he pitted on lap 25. He'll be able to get to the end on that. Vettel pits. Vettel pits. I was not expecting a two-stop today. But the tyres are just degrading more than they thought as another set of the medium compound goes on. So that must mean that everyone is going to pit again. Where would he come out in relation to Lewis Hamilton? Is that Hamilton? Is that Lewis Hamilton? Oh, is it ever Lewis Hamilton? And Hamilton will probably get DRS on Vettel because he'll get a better run through turn one. Let's see if he does. Through, and Hamilton does not activate the DRS. So Vettel has just got out ahead of Lewis Hamilton. So there you go. But we're going to have now a very good 21 lap sprint to the end of the race. Lap 36, by the way, out of 57. Giovinazzi's up to P10, but we'll have to move out the way for Kimi Raikkonen in a moment. Raikkonen P11, but catching his teammate very quickly. Magnussen is having an absolute horror show in P12 and now has the two Toro Rossos right behind him. Lewis Hamilton, by the way, only half a second behind Magnussen, as Charles Leclerc, the race leader, has pitted. Charles Leclerc in the pits for a new set of mediums. The two-stop in Bahrain, I did not see that coming at all. So Perez is now 15th. Russell is in 16th. Bottas will not get into the lead. Leclerc will maintain the lead into turn one. Lewis Hamilton does the new fastest lap of 33.5. Will Hamilton go for it in turn one? No, he will not. But he definitely looks like he has a better car to race with right now. As now, Vettel trying to defend, and Hamilton's going to go right round the outside. No way is Lewis Hamilton going to make that work. No, he does not. That would have been one of the best overtakes in a while if he made that work. That was from a mile back around the outside. He is trying everything he can to put Vettel under that unbelievable supreme pressure that we know he can crack under. That's exactly what he's trying to do. And if he made that work, that would have been an unbelievable overtake. He did go off the track, but he is, I think, more so trying to distract Vettel, if anything. I think he knew he was probably not going to get through because, yeah, he was off the track quite clearly on the exit of turn 4. But nice to see these two racing from lap 1 all the way to 57, most likely. And Hamilton's through. Hamilton is that Hamilton? Oh, that's Bottas. Sorry, I thought Hamilton had passed Vettel. Vettel has now passed Bottas at the final corner. That is a stupid thing to do, I think. Oh, no, it's not, because Vettel did get the DRS. That's good. Right. I thought Vettel was going to lose the DRS there. Hamilton, he's moving in the braking zone to try and distract Vettel. And Vettel has been distracted. And he's gone wide. And Hamilton will now get a run towards turn 4. DRS, slipstream. And Lewis Hamilton... Oh, right round the outside. And Vettel has spun. Sebastian Vettel spins the Ferrari. What happened there? He put his foot on the throttle and the whole car just pirouetted and went round. What happened there to Vettel? And now it looks like his rear tyres are completely gone. But Hamilton, great move around the outside. Did they touch? I don't think they did. Let's see. So Vettel down the inside. We need to see the front angle. We don't need to see that angle. We need to see the front angle to see if there was contact that caused Sebastian to spin. No, there wasn't at all. He just put his foot on the throttle and the whole thing spun around. That was very weird. Vettel, again, spinning. Well, he likes spinning, doesn't he? End of 2018 will prove that for you. And now he has no front wing at all. What the hell is going on? What the hell's gone on for Vettel? How is that? How has he now spun and now lost his front wing? Where's he been? He's lost it somewhere. Leclerc's done a new fastest lap, and Vettel here, he's going to lose a podium. Oh, so this is what happened. Stroll passed him to unlap himself. And... oh, that was a big front wing failure, but why did it happen? On the straight towards turn 11, let's see this failure. Oh, that was a massive front wing failure. That's one of the biggest I've seen in a long time. That could have resulted in him flying into the barrier at scary speed. But now Vettel's chance of a podium is basically dead. New front wing goes on Vettel's car, and you have to say, he has caused, once again, his own downfall. He is out on a new set of soft tyres, I think. He is actually going to get passed by the two Renaults who are racing hard towards turn 1. Hulkenberg round the outside of Ricciardo. Oh, contact. Ricciardo hit Hulkenberg. I'm pretty sure he hit him. That was contact. And Vettel has only come out just ahead of, guess who? His old teammate Kimi Raikkonen. As Ricciardo. Will he go around the outside of Hulkenberg? No, he will not. I'm pretty sure the Renaults made contact into turn 1. We'll have to see a replay of that. But Sebastian Vettel has done what we criticised him massively for last year, and that is cracking under pressure. And he's done it again, and he's done it in such a similar way. Spun round, then lost the front wing for some reason. Maybe it was... it couldn't have been... the spin could not have been because of the front wing. A front wing failure does not cause you to spin the rear tyres up and spin right round. It cannot be the front wing that caused that to happen. It can't be. It must have been... let's see. So, did he go over the curb? Did that cause it? I don't know what caused that front wing failure, unless there was something wrong with the rear of the car. I don't understand. I don't understand why he lost his front wing. I do not, for the life of me, understand why that's happened. He didn't go over a curb too hard. I mean, he did go over the inside curb at turn 4, but nowhere near hard enough to break your front wing. And here's Kubica getting a face full of... oh no, that's Russell getting a face full of sparks, but... I don't know why that would have happened. I don't understand. But Vettel is now PA and is now catching Lando Norris for P7. But Sebastian Vettel will absolutely not get a podium now because he's a pit stop behind Verstappen, who's P4. So Vettel's hopes of a podium are dead completely with 16 laps only to go. Make sure on the chat, guys, to comment down below what you think of that by Vettel. You have to say again, cracked under pressure. Yellow flag in sector 2 for some reason. What is that for? Now it's clear. Maybe someone went off the track. Renault, though, looking quite good. But I think Vettel will relegate the Renaults to 6th and 7th. But Renault, at the moment, P5 and P6. Who would have thought that? As I'm just going to put Vettel in P7 now because I think he will easily pass Lando Norris. But Norris, by the way, really catching up to those two Renaults. So we're going to have a good fight at the front of the midfield. Raikkonen is 9th. Albon's 10th. That's a good job there. But Gasly to deal with in a minute. Here comes Vettel on Norris. And Vettel goes down the inside. I think Lando smartly not fighting that battle against a car that is so much quicker than his. But there you go. Giovinazzi has just pitted. So Pierre Gasly is up to P11 on his alternate two-stop strategy. Perez is up to P12. Here is a replay of the Renaults. I'm pretty sure Ricciardo hit Hülkenberg here. Yeah, Ricciardo hit Hülkenberg. Locked up. And he's lucky. And that's actually broke Daniel Ricciardo's end fence. Not completely. It's not hanging off. Well, it might be hanging off, but it's not off the car. But Ricciardo going into Hülkenberg there. And yeah, we definitely felt it. So he would have known that was. And Vettel goes past Ricciardo very easily. But all of this doesn't really matter. I'm going to be honest for Vettel because, again, he has bottled it. Sorry if you're a Ferrari or Sebastian Vettel fan, but you got to be honest. He's done it again. He's bottled it again. He was in a good position for the team, for himself to finish ahead of Hamilton, and he cracked under pressure and made a mistake. Now, I don't know why his front wing failed, but he was not going to beat Hamilton anyway in the Grand Prix after that incident. So, again, you have to say, he has cracked under pressure and shown that I think mentally still not at a top level. So you've got Giovinazzi 13th. Kevin Magnussen keeps dropping. He's now 14th. He's got Kvyat right behind him about to pass him. I am interested to see why Haas have been in this position with Magnussen, because that's not right at all. He qualifies 6th and almost out-qualified Max Verstappen. Now he's racing Danny Kvyat for P14. Something's gone wrong. By the way, Leclerc 10 seconds ahead of Hamilton with 14 laps to go. I'm just completing the order here. So you've got Kubica, and Kvyat has now passed Magnussen, so I'll quickly update that. Kvyat up to P14 and Magnussen P15. And does he drop? Does he ever? But there you go. That is the running order along the bottom of your screen. That is currently running along the bottom of your screen. And there's a yellow flag in sector 2. I don't know what that's for, as Vettel is going to pass Hülkenberg comfortably down the inside. And the green flag has now come back out, so it must have been maybe just a driver going wide. And I'll quickly post a picture of the Vettel versus Lewis Hamilton contact. There you go. Again, though, Vettel making another crucial mistake that we are going to hammer him for, let's be honest. But now, I'm going to try and read the chat, because I haven't read it, I don't think, once in this race. Sorry if I haven't, guys, but you have to understand, this race has been so good. It's hard to keep up. Yeah, sorry if I haven't looked at the comments, but it's been very, very hard to during this race because, you know, once I've finished the running order, for example, something else has happened, and then something else happens, and, you know, all goes tits up. So sorry I haven't looked in the comments. I did warn you guys. I did warn you guys in the first place. You know, I'm not going to look at the comments that much because I have enough on my plate, you know, to watch the race, update the running order, and show as many pictures as I can. So yeah, sorry I haven't read out any comments, but I just want to say, hold on a minute. I was going to say don't forget to subscribe, but Lando Norris is about to overtake Daniel Ricciardo for P7, and Norris round the outside. Norris is on the soft compound and gets through, and now here comes Kimi Räikkönen on the soft compound as well. Ricciardo gets a slipstream, tries to go around the outside of Norris. That's not going to happen. Not in a million years. Is he going to go around the outside? And now Räikkönen now has to get past Ricciardo. Ricciardo looks like he's really struggling now and could end up finishing outside the points at this rate. 12 laps to go. Gasly is 10 seconds behind, but Gasly, I'm pretty sure, is on a lot faster tyre and is in a faster car as well. As here comes Kimi Räikkönen down to turn 11. By the way, I just saw in the chat someone saying that the tyre vibration caused the front wing to fall off. Well, if that is the case, then that's still, of course, Vettel's issue because he caused his own downfall there. So Norris up to P7 and could finish P6 at this rate. Because Hülkenberg, I think, is on the medium and Norris is on the soft. So Räikkönen and Ricciardo are now about to head down to turn 1, and Räikkönen will get past Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel, I don't think, has anything to defend with. They're moving out the way for something, some kind of debris on the pit straight. Here comes Kimi Räikkönen. Ricciardo defends. Räikkönen right round the outside. And there you go, right round the outside. Ricciardo doesn't have the grip to defend with, and Kimi has a superior straight line speed in that instance. So now Räikkönen is up to P8 and Ricciardo is down to P9 in this Grand Prix. Albon was P10. I need to update that. Gasly is now P10 ahead of Albon. Yep, so Gasly P10. Gasly will get a point, I think. Albon P11, Perez, then Giovinazzi, then Kvyat, Magnussen, Stroll, Russell, Sainz. Thank you, Bitzer. So I need to quickly update that. So the order running along the bottom of your screen is currently the race order. Leclerc leads with 11 laps to go. Lap 46 out of 57. Leclerc leads from Lewis Hamilton second, who is catching. Bottas is third, half a minute behind Hamilton. Verstappen is fourth. Vettel is way behind in P5. Then it's Hülkenberg sixth. Norris seventh. About to be passed by Kimi Räikkönen, I fear, for Lando Norris. Then Ricciardo, 9th. Gasly 10th. Then Albon, Perez, Giovinazzi, Kvyat, Magnussen, Stroll, Russell, Sainz, Kubica not scoring points at the moment, with Grosjean out of the race. As Kimi Räikkönen going to do a switch back in turn 1 on Lando Norris. And now gets the slipstream and the DRS to turn 4, but I don't think he'll make the move now. He's way too far behind. Charles Leclerc has some kind of issue because he's dropping a lot of time to Hamilton. Has Charles took too much out of the tyres in this stint? I think he has. He's now 6 seconds. Charles, there's an issue with Charles Leclerc's car. Charles Leclerc has just lost about a second for some reason. Does Charles have an issue with his car? If anyone can find out, let me know right now in the live chat. Engine issue. Oh no, for Charles Leclerc. It's all falling apart for Ferrari. Leclerc leading by, well, I was going to say 5 seconds. That's evaporating very, very quickly. It's evaporating as quickly as Sebastian Vettel's front wing a minute ago. Leclerc, if he continues for the next 10 laps at this speed, he should finish in P2, but he won't be able to win with the speed he currently has, unless he has to pull over and retire. But Charles Leclerc, with 10 laps to go, is now pulling away from Hamilton. So I think, has it resolved itself? No, it's not resolved itself. He's now pulled another half a second back. Charles Leclerc is about to lose his first win in his career. Yep, he's lost about 3 seconds on this lap to Hamilton. There's an engine issue for Charles Leclerc. And Lewis Hamilton is zooming in on Charles Leclerc. If Leclerc continues to stay out, though, for the next 10 laps, he can finish in P2. Because Bottas is about half a minute behind Hamilton, so he should be able to stay ahead. But if Leclerc has to pull over and retire, then what a disaster that is for Ferrari. Indeed, as people are saying in the chat, it was going so well. 1-2, a comfortable 1-2. But now the win is, well, I don't see how they can win now unless Lewis Hamilton has an issue. And here comes Hamilton, only half a second behind Leclerc. If Lewis just waits until the straight between turn 10 and 11, he will get past him very comfortably with DRS. And now he will turn into turn 10, get the DRS, and... Or does he get the DRS? Yes, he does. He won't pass Leclerc now, but he will pass him on the pit straight. Maybe even down to the final corner. But I'm sure Lewis has been told that Charles has an engine issue. And you can see it right there. He's losing. Once the power unit starts kicking in to use the ERS that it normally does, it's losing a lot of straight line speed. And here comes Hamilton. He's going to pass Charles so easily. And there you go. Lewis Hamilton passes Charles Leclerc for the lead of the Grand Prix because Charles Leclerc has a power unit issue with 8 laps to go. Now, what they need to do at Ferrari is put that power unit into a safe engine mode and protect the 29-second lead Leclerc has over Valtteri Bottas. He should be able to finish in second in this Grand Prix. As Hamilton gets past. That is such a shame for Charles. Such a shame. He deserves to win this race to Charles Leclerc. I don't think anyone can doubt that. Charles Leclerc deserves to win this Grand Prix. He's been the best driver by far. For me, he's my driver of the day. I'm just going to say it now. He's my driver of the day. He's been so good. And it is a crying shame that he loses this race win. But it's a lesson for Charles that you can't count your chickens in Formula 1. It's never over until the checkered flag falls. As Matteo Binotto said, in the build-up to this race, reliability will be important, and, well, was it ever? But now, if Ferrari can keep losing this amount of pace a lap to Bottas, then he should be able to take second. But if he loses even more, and the power unit is degrading in its performance, then he will end up off the podium. I'm just looking at the order, see if there's any changes. There is not. That's such a shame. I feel so sorry for Charles. He's been the best driver this weekend by an absolute mile. Absolute mile. And it's been took away from him because of something that he is not in control of. And if I was Mercedes, by the way, I'd tell Valtteri Bottas to turn his power unit up a bit more, push a bit more, and get after Leclerc. Because if he puts Leclerc under pressure, then Charles could either make a mistake or force Ferrari and their power unit to blow up. But honestly, looking at the gap, I think Bottas is going to catch Leclerc at this rate. He's just took 5.3 seconds out of Charles Leclerc. So it's going to be a Mercedes 1-2 yet again in the championship. And if Mercedes is smart, if they can get a 1-2, one of their drivers should try and go for a fastest lap point to get as many points as they can to capitalize on the issues for Ferrari. Ah, such a shame. That's really disheartening. You know, we've had a great race today, so exciting, and it really should have been capped off by a new winner in Formula One, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There's no way Charles Leclerc can win this race, as he's now just been passed by a Toro Rosso, I believe, of Danny Kvyat. That is so that's so cruel. I honestly, I do feel so sorry for the guy. And by the way, for people in the moderators, please be a bit more lenient when it comes to blocking, because I'm seeing comments being blocked when they don't need to be, so please don't. But Lewis Hamilton is leading by 15.3 seconds from Charles Leclerc. Leclerc was leading the entire race until an engine issue, which is about to relegate him to second. And at this rate, it's going to relegate him off the podium, because Verstappen is about 7 seconds behind Bottas, and Leclerc's losing way too much time. As Leclerc, he now comes into turn. It comes into turn 10 now on the straight towards turn 11. That is just such a cruel. Saying that though, Leclerc for some reason. Oh no, that's the gap going down between Bottas and Leclerc. I thought Leclerc was catching Hamilton. That is not the case. But yeah, as Nib just said in the chat, it's gonna be a Mercedes 1-2, unless one of the Mercedes crashes or has a reliability issue in the final 4 laps or 5 laps of this Grand Prix. It's going to be a Mercedes 1-2 and maybe a Red Bull in third. As you can tell, Charles Leclerc has an engine issue. He's losing so much in a straight line. He looks like he's touring compared to even the Haas there of Kevin Magnussen. And yeah, I think Verstappen will get the podium. They should be, right now, to Max Verstappen, willing him on to push as hard as possible, because the podium is right there for him. As Hamilton is cruising to another victory. This will be his 3rd victory at Bahrain. He hasn't deserved to win today, but sometimes you do make your own luck. You have to be in that type of position to capitalize. So well done to Lewis for being in that position in the first place, but he doesn't deserve to win at all. But as I said, sometimes you do make your own luck in Formula One, or in life in general. As Leclerc is now 7 seconds ahead of Verstappen. By the way, Pierre Gasly has just passed Daniel Ricciardo for P9. So Ricciardo down to P10, and Ricciardo should get the final point with that. I'm quickly just going to update the order with Gasly in 9th. I think Gasly, he's done okay today. Nothing special, but you have to say again, not enough speed in that, or from him today. Not enough speed at all. So Gasly 9th, Ricciardo 10th. Raikkonen still half a second behind Norris. I want to see that battle soon. I can understand why they're watching this, because it is a heartbreaking moment that's about to happen. But there you go. So disappointing. But now, I will quickly, if I can... Yep, here we go. Post a picture of Lewis taking the lead from Charles. And Bottas is now only 2.5 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Hamilton now over a pit stop ahead of Charles, I think. So there you go. Hamilton taking the lead from Charles Leclerc. Bottas now, he'll probably be able to make the move on the next lap. Max is still going to have to push because you never know. Maybe they can recover speed in that power unit, but right now, Bottas will definitely take second. Verstappen might take third. We'll have to see. It's currently, by the way, lap 54 out of 57, as Valtteri Bottas with DRS is about to fly past Charles Leclerc on the pit straight. Here we go, DRS. And goodbye, second place, I'm afraid, Charles. There you go. Valtteri Bottas sweeps into second. Mercedes are going to take their first 1-2 at Bahrain since 2014. Of course, in that epic battle between Hamilton and Rosberg. Max is now 6.4 seconds behind Leclerc. So we'll see if he can get past. He should be able to. But it'll be probably on the final lap. So Ferrari heading for the same result as they got in Australia, 4th and 5th, when they should be finishing 1 and 2, based on the pace of the car. And yet Max is catching quite quickly, I think, because they've told Max that P3 is right there for the taking. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. Who is that for? It's for Nico Hülkenberg, who stopped. Oh, that's such a shame. Hülkenberg out of P6. And that promotes Albon, by the way, up to P10. That's good for him, but Nico Hülkenberg out of the race. What a cruel, cruel way to go out of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Was that Daniel Ricciardo? Oh, both Renaults are out. Both Renaults are out of the race. Ricciardo and Hülkenberg are out of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Both Renaults, probably with the same issue, have failed. And Albon and Perez are now in the points. And Ricciardo and Hülkenberg, oh, that is such a shame. They were heading for a P6 and a P10. And now it's going to be 18th and 19th. There's a yellow flag ahead to signal Hülkenberg's issue, and Ricciardo presumably has the exact same issue. And what is it? I don't know what it is, but both Renaults out at the exact same time. Wow. Let's see from the rear of Hülkenberg. What is it? Oh, I don't know. It's something in, maybe underneath the car or in the car. I don't know what it is, but Renault. Oh, that's such a shame. And a safety car. Safety car. That saves Charles Leclerc's bacon massively. So Charles Leclerc will get a podium because there's no way the race is going to get going again. Because we're on lap 55 out of 57. So Leclerc will get the podium. Surely. So that's great news for Charles Leclerc, not for Max Verstappen. That's a bit, I'm going to say, very unlucky. And who is that leaving the race? Hopefully not Norris. Who is that? That's Carlos Sainz. Thank the Lord that is Carlos Sainz. We don't want another retirement there. But we've now got Norris in P6, Raikkonen P7, Gasly in P8, Albon P9. And then Sergio Perez in P10, Giovinazzi P11, and then P12 Kvyat. Carlos Sainz is out of this race for sure. We've just seen him get out of the car. Kvyat now P12. 13th is going to be K-Mag. They've now started lap 56. So yeah, they are going to end the race under the safety car. So unless anyone has a reliability issue under the safety car, Lewis Hamilton has basically won the Bahrain Grand Prix. From Valtteri Bottas in second, Charles Leclerc third, Verstappen fourth, Vettel fifth, then Norris sixth, Raikkonen seventh, Raikkonen seventh, Gasly eighth, Albon ninth, and Perez 10th. Those are your point scorers. Williams are heading for a better result than they had in Australia, a 15th and a 16th instead of a 16th and a 17th. So there you go. And Hulkenberg back in 17th. These are retirements, by the way, 17th and behind. Hulkenberg 17th, Ricciardo 18th, Sainz in 19th. So 3 Renault cars retiring at the same time. Who would have seen that coming? But there you go. That is a crazy way to end this race, and hopefully Charles' engine hangs on for another lap and a half. Because if he doesn't, then that's going to put Max in third. They are now going to start the final lap of the race. The final lap of the race is going to be under the safety car. So, unless there is a reliability issue, it will be Lewis Hamilton taking another win from Bottas, then Leclerc third, Verstappen fourth. Okay, so it must be some kind of ERS issue because Daniel Ricciardo's light on the top of his car is flashing red, and that means step away from the car. This car is dangerous. So he must have... That must be some kind of electrical failure then for both cars at the same time, because I'm going to assume that Hulkenberg has the same issue. Ferrari had their bacon saved massively there. But what a Grand Prix we've had, guys. The Bahrain Grand Prix never does disappoint, does it? We have had another great race. This race is turning out to be one of the best tracks on the calendar. You know there's going to be chaos in Bahrain, and we've had more chaos. Ferrari's having issues and crashing, contact all over the place. 2 Renaults retiring from the points at the same time. What a Grand Prix. And this is why you should never doubt Formula One when it comes to its excitement, because this race has proven once again why Formula One is just such a great sport. As we've seen Vettel there in P5. Matteo Binotto looks like he wants the ground to open up and swallow him in. That's a shame for Ferrari. They should have won the race with Leclerc. Leclerc's been so good. But there you go. That's what happens. I don't know who will get the fastest lap. I think it will be Charles Leclerc who has the fastest lap point. So, as they now come on to the penultimate straight before the final corner, Lewis Hamilton under the safety car that is about to take them into the end of the race, or into the checkered flag, is about to take another victory in Formula One. He has got lucky today, but sometimes you have to make your own luck if you want to win races and, of course, win world championships. Here comes Hamilton. And wait, because of the safety car line, will Verstappen get Leclerc? Or not? Oh no, the safety car is still out. Okay, I thought because they let the safety car come in, maybe they thought, or maybe they were going to let them race. But Hamilton wins from Valtteri Bottas in P2. It's a Mercedes 1-2. No one saw that coming. Lewis looks like, to me, he's actually, I don't know if he's crying or just so happy with that result. Charles Leclerc finishes in a very sad P3. Max Verstappen finishes P4. Sebastian Vettel bottles it in P5. Lando Norris puts in a great performance to finish in P6. Kimi, good result, P7. Gasly, a bit better in P8. Great day for Albon. First points in Formula 1 in P9. Perez P10. And then Giovinazzi P11. And then Kvyat, Magnussen, Stroll, Russell, Kubica. And your retirements for the 2019 Bahrain Grand Prix is the two Renaults of Nico Hülkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo, the McLaren of Carlos Sainz, and the Haas of Romain Grosjean. And the driver of the day, by the way, is Charles Leclerc. And he is also my driver of the day. Let me know right now in the chat, guys, and also the comments, who is your driver of the day. Let me know right now, and I'll read out as many driver of the day verdicts from you guys as possible, as a Red Bull there just spinning on the cool down lap back to the pits. But yeah, there you go. What an incredible Grand Prix that was. But before I read out the chat, I just want to say, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as I will be doing qualifying and race watch-alongs for the whole of 2019. So don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Bottom right of the screen, you can click subscribe right there, or go to my channel page and click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe, and also hit the notifications bell for more content like this. And here's a replay. So Verstappen, I think that's Verstappen just spinning on the inside curve. Very funny. But let me see what you guys think, or who you think is driver of the day. So let me try and find the start point here. So Lando Norris from Tonka Toy Truck. Norris was great today, no doubt about it. Ark says yes. Charles, driver of the day. Astro Stevo says Leclerc. Aston W says Leclerc. Nib says Leclerc. John Huber, not very happy for obvious reasons. TD Emmanuel says no contest. Leclerc. Can't be anyone other than Leclerc. Yep, indeed. Mustafa So says Lewis Hamilton. I disagree with that. I will say Lewis Hamilton was very good today, but he was not driver of the day, in my opinion. I Am King of Me says Leclerc. Joe Caliber says, with a wink face, Max Verstappen. John Murphy says Charles Leclerc. MP Jopa TV, Charles Leclerc. Jonathan says either Leclerc or Hülkenberg. Yeah, Nico was very good today. Definitely one of the best drivers of the day, but what a shock there for Renault. Roy Syria, Leclerc for best of the week. Yeah, he was. Charles Leclerc has been the best driver this whole weekend, but that is such a shame that it's been took away from him. Dexter Hall says easily Leclerc. Alan Guo says Leclerc and Verstappen for hanging in there. Who else have we got? We've got plenty more. Dumizanim 99, I think it is, says Leclerc, driver of the day. Botti Gamer says Charles Leclerc. Says anyone who disagrees is weird and wrong. Atiende Flora says Lewis Hamilton. Who else have we got here for driver of the day? Formula Zone says Leclerc. We have Chibs. Machiavelli says Lewis Hamilton. Nick Dobbin says Stroll. Who else do we have there? Brett says Hülkenberg. Sid is Romain Grosjean. Bonner, what happened to Leclerc? Leading the entire race. Well, not the entire race. Made a poor start. Dropped down to third. Then passed Bottas and Hamilton in the Bottas and Vettel in the first 10 laps. Was leading the race so comfortably, and had an engine issue and fell behind Hamilton and Bottas. And I'm going to be honest, was lucky not to fall behind Verstappen due to the safety car, but he definitely is not lucky overall today, is Charles Leclerc. Charles is the most unlucky driver right now. He had everything sewn up, and then as Nib is saying, apparently an MGUK failure for Charles Leclerc. It looked as though it was a kinetic, or you know, that type of area of the power unit, because once that type of device in the power unit where it should be kicking in, he had nothing. Han Solo says Leclerc driver of the race by far. Absolutely. Right, let me find some more comments. Let me just find. Am I still? By the way, am I still on? Because you guys are saying copyright. Am I still live? I hope I haven't been copyrighted. Because if I have, I'll be very, very angry. My stream is still running, so I don't see how I've been copyrighted. I think I'd know if I have been. Yes, I am live. Right, okay. So whoever you're talking about, please let me know, because you've given me a panic attack, honestly, saying, oh, copyright. Please don't say that, because you almost had my heart in my mouth. Jesus Christ. Oh, yes, you are. F1 word has. Okay, Jesus Christ. I almost turned blue there. Oh, thank you for not... thank you for not... Well, thank you for saying that I am live. I almost had a massive panic attack there. Oh, right. Let's get away from that then. He shouldn't be copyrighted unless he's shown live coverage. I don't think he does. So I don't know why he's been copyrighted, because I don't think Sean shows live coverage. So I'm sure right now he's probably headbutting a wall at about 300 miles an hour. Oh, by the way, thank you for that. I just had a donation from Still I Rise 4485. By the way, guys, if you didn't know, you can donate to me. I have actually had it open for a few months now. If you want to donate, then donate. If you don't, then that's fine. Of course, it's your money to play with. But if you want to donate, then go ahead. Captain Amazing says, nope, he should not have been copyrighted. I was so confused when it cut. Well, again, not for the first time. FOM are absolute bleep. That's what they are. But I'll move on from that. And now I'll post this picture quickly of the moment where Lewis Hamilton crossed the line to win in Bahrain. So there you go. That's when Lewis Hamilton crossed the line. I will show the full results with the, you know, the gaps in between. I will show that pretty soon. So if you're wondering whether that's going to appear, it will. Don't worry. I will show the gaps between the drivers that finished in just a moment, once I actually find it. Still I Rise says, you make your own luck. Like I said before Hamilton crossed the line, you do make your own luck. He was lucky today, but he had to be in the position in the first place to get that. If Vettel had not cracked under pressure like he did again, he would have won the race. So there you go. Right, let me just find some more comments. I will fully get into a reaction of the Bahrain Grand Prix in just a moment. Once we have the podium, then I'll get into the reaction. I'll show some pictures of the other cars, you know, for the reaction of this race. By the way, I've just seen that Sean's copyright is not from FOM. It's from someone completely random. So I don't know who that is. I'm reading on Twitter now. I don't know. I'm not going to read their names. I don't think they need them or deserve their name to be read. But Yeah, that's weird. So FOM did not copyright it. That's very weird. Mike Brown says someone is getting fired at Ferrari. Fact. Let's calm down with that talk. You know, reliability issues happen. Yes, it's annoying, but it happens. It's not Hamilton's best win, to be honest. That's from Nick Dubbin. No, it's not. But it was a good drive by Lewis, but it wasn't a race-winning drive by him, honestly. So sorry for the young Ferrari driver. That's from Marcus Rakiat. Yeah. I feel so sorry for Charles Leclerc. I thought I was going to cry, honestly. That's how sorry I felt for him, because I've been really hoping the guy was going to be right up there with Vettel, you know, win his first race for Ferrari, and it's took away from him in the most cruel way possible through no fault of his own. So that is the way it happened. You know, if he had only just got into the lead and then it happened, then it's a less cruel thing, because it wasn't there sat tantalizing, you know, for so long. But with the race he had, you know, falling back to third and passing Bottas, then passing Vettel, dominating the race, and then to have that happen, it's such a cruel way for it to happen. Yeah, it's just such a shame. Right, let me look at some more comments before we get into the proper review of, or not review, but reaction of the race. By the way, if you're new to the channel, I do a race review, about an hour and a half to 2 hour race review on a Monday night. I'll be doing it tomorrow night at 6 PM UK time. So make sure to come along to that, and also subscribe and hit the notifications bell for that video that will be coming out tomorrow evening live on the channel. And we'll analyze everything. We'll go through all the teams in a lot more detail than we will in a moment. I'll also look at the incidents like Vettel and Hamilton, Stroll, Grosjean, Giovinazzi, Kvyat, Verstappen, Sainz. I'll go through all of that in the race review. We'll also look at the championship tables, drivers and constructors. I think Bottas still leads the drivers championship by a point. I'm not sure exactly, but I think Bottas leads the drivers by 1 point. And I think Max is then third, behind Hamilton second, and then Leclerc is in fourth with Vettel in fifth. Pretty sure that's what the top five in the drivers is. And then in sixth place in the drivers, I think, is Kimi Räikkönen. But there you go. Crystal Racing says, one thing that I absolutely have to agree with. What a race. What a race that was. Bahrain delivers again. And I know Nib will disagree, but Bahrain has to be the first race of the season, because that is now a usual occurrence with this track. Happens all the time. It's because it's such a great track. Bahrain should be the first race, because you want the first race to be a thriller, and that was a thriller. Way better than the Australian Grand Prix a couple weeks ago. The first 5 laps were better than the Australian Grand Prix. So Bahrain should be the first race, absolutely. And I think that race, also last year, and a lot of Bahrain Grand Prix prove it should be the first race on the calendar, for me, without a doubt. Location doesn't mean everything. But I'll wait for the results in a moment. So they'll be popping up in just a moment. Mike Brown says, what does he say? Let me just see that. He says, Vettel, I think he said Vettel will be crying himself to sleep tonight. I think that's what he said. Yeah, he did. He will be so angry. So angry, because he did it again. He did it again. He bottled it. He absolutely bottled it. I thought Sebastian would have learnt his lesson. But no, of course he hasn't. He keeps doing the same thing, being maybe overly aggressive. I wouldn't say in that incident it was overly aggressive. I think he maybe got a bit too... His feathers got a bit too ruffled, if you know what I mean. Got a bit too ruffled, and then panicked. And then just slammed his foot on the throttle and spun, and then the tyre vibration broke his front wing. So he caused his own downfall. Deserves to finish in P5. And Sebastian, again, has a poor race. I'm seeing a replay of it now. If you actually watch Vettel's car, it looked like it was about to spin all the way through turn 4. Then eventually he just lit up the rear tyres and spun the car. So yeah, Vettel, I think, was panicking, like, oh no, Hamilton's going to get past me, quick, stop him from getting past. And then he just panicked, lit the rear tyres up, and did what he usually does. Isaac says he's depressed, not going to lie. It is a bit depressing if you are a Ferrari or Charles Leclerc fan. Yeah, just... such a disappointment. Marcus says, we need drivers like Vettel to make F1 interesting. Well, with the amount of spins he does, at least we get to see cars doing something different than just driving around the track normally. Ronan Brady says, I actually think Ferrari was sleeping on the pit wall with Vettel as he was more than 5 seconds ahead before the pit stops. I think he pitted a lap after Hamilton. He wasn't too far ahead of Hamilton. He was only, I think, 2.5, 3 seconds ahead. So the amount of gap that was closed was about right, because the undercut in Bahrain is so powerful. And that's what they went with Hamilton, and it worked absolutely perfectly. And then Vettel, he cracked under pressure, and you could see it coming. Because look at turn 1 in that incident. Hamilton moving in the braking zone, then Vettel goes wide, and from then on he just unravels, or just melts like chocolate in the sun. It's just, you can't condone what Vettel did there. He just folded under pressure. He was obviously watching in his mirrors to see where Lewis Hamilton was. Hamilton, smartly, because I think it's a good thing to do to try and put another driver under pressure, moved out from under Vettel's slipstream, showed him he was there. Vettel went wide. And then from then on, I think Lewis knew he had him absolutely done for and took advantage of it. And I think it shows as well, that did show that Lewis is mentally the stronger driver. You could clearly see it in that battle. You could clearly see who the better driver is, and also who the more stronger driver is mentally. There you go. Right. Let me find some more comments here. By the way, with the results, I'm just waiting for the graphic to pop up on Twitter, and then I will show it on screen, and that'll be the final thing I put on screen before I end the stream, because I know you guys want to see the exact gaps and all the, all the positions and all of that. But the order running along the bottom, that is the official finishing order of the Bahrain Grand Prix. So Lewis Hamilton has won from Bottas in second in a Mercedes 1-2. Charles Leclerc, disappointingly for Ferrari, with that engine issue at the end, finishes third. Verstappen fourth, Vettel fifth, Norris great in sixth, Raikkonen seventh, great result for Alfa Romeo. Gasly eighth, Albon ninth, Perez 10th, and then Giovinazzi in P11. A lot better from Giovinazzi, good result. Kvyat 12th, Magnussen 13th, Stroll 14th, Russell 15th, Kubica 16th, and then the two Renaults of Hülkenberg and Ricciardo, Sainz and Grosjean are your retirements. There you go. But I'm going to try and see again if I can find this results graphic. I'm just looking on Twitter to see the reaction to the race on there as well. Leclerc saying, it happens, unfortunately, it was not our day. Of course, I'm extremely disappointed, a very hard one to take, but thanks to the team. Congratulations to Lewis and Valtteri. Yeah, as he said, it happens. Other drivers have had more unfortunate ways of retiring in the lead. I mean, Nigel Mansell, even though I think it was a driver error, had, I think, one straight, a chicane, and then another straight to go until a win in Canada in 1991, and he accidentally, whilst waving to the crowd, turned the engine off. So there has been more unfortunate failures before than that, but it's still very unlucky. Bottas says, it was a difficult race for me. The balance of the car was everywhere. I was making a lot of mistakes. I have to say, Valtteri in the race today was not that good. And he was making quite a few errors. He did do or put on a good move on Max Verstappen. I will say that. Great move on Max Verstappen. And Lewis Hamilton, who I think did feel sorry for Charles Leclerc at the end of the race, says, it was a really, really hard race today. Charles did such a great job, so it must be devastating for him. The fight with Vettel was great fun for me. Of course it was, because he made Sebastian crack under pressure. Zishan Saeed says, I missed what happened to Rick and Hulk. They had the same failure. I think it's probably something to do with the power unit. The same failure, the same time, with about 4 laps to go in the Grand Prix, whilst running P6 and P10. What an absolute shame for Renault. But again, even though they had a lot of speed in the race, what a disappointing weekend. You know, qualify outside the top 10, have a great race, and then a double failure right at the end. And that there is why Red Bull no longer have Renault power units. There you go. It was very quick in a straight line, the Renault, but it ain't reliable. It is not reliable at all. Han Solo, move on Max was DRS. Is that so great? It doesn't matter about DRS. If it's a clear move and you pull ahead before the braking zone actually really starts with DRS, then yeah, it's not a good move. But Verstappen was still there on the inside defending hard. It was a great move to go around the outside. Crystal Racing says, first points for Albon and Norris. Exactly. Norris, for me, is second in my driver of the day. Some of the overtakes he put in were so good. He is going to be, at the end of the year, I think people are going to rank him as one of the best overtakers in F1, because the guy, whenever he gets near a car, doesn't hesitate on throwing it down the inside or going around the outside. He loves all of that stuff. And he deserved to finish in P6. And that is a great result for McLaren. And now McLaren are level on points with Haas in the Constructors. And I think Alfa Romeo are now P4 in the Constructors. So I think it's Alfa Romeo, then Haas and McLaren level on points. And then I think it's Toro Rosso. Is it Toro Rosso? No, there'll be Renault, then Toro Rosso, and then probably Racing Point. So, yeah, great performance by Lando. Henry says, Norris does Ricciardo dive bomb moves. Nice. Yep, he does. He does. Norris is killing it. Paul says, Gasly is so bad. Pierre did okay today. I'm gonna say okay. I mean, without the Renault double failure, he would have finished 10th, and that's where he deserved to finish. I think in the Grand Prix. And, well, we'll have to see the replay of the Verstappen-Sainz battle, but if Sainz was unlucky with that also, I don't think Gasly deserved to finish in the points at all. So, there you go. Ronan Brady says, give Gasly time. I will give him time, but if he does the same in Shanghai, I am going to make a video after Shanghai asking the question whether he should be replaced. I'm not going to say he should be replaced. I'm going to wait until Monaco to make my first decision in my own mind on that. But when it comes to that question being asked, if he does it again in Shanghai, then we need to start asking whether he is good enough and whether he should be dropped. Ronan Brady says, give it till Barcelona. I see your point, but he's been he hasn't done anything really that positive at all this season. He had 2 big crashes in testing, which affected Red Bull's running. He was unlucky in qualifying in Melbourne because it was the team's fault, but then in the race, he didn't really do anything. Was terrible in qualifying and has been terrible the entire weekend, and was going to finish probably outside of the points if Sainz and the 2 Renaults didn't have their issues, which were not caused, I think, by their own fault. So, no, I don't think Gasly has earned, time until it has earned that amount of time. I think the next race he's got to be 3rd row of the grid in qualifying and then finish probably in the top 6 in the race. That's only if, though, the usual 5 ahead finish the Grand Prix. But good news, I have finally found the results graphic, and I'll now put it on your screens. So here you go. Here is, and I'll get rid of this now because I don't think I need it anymore. Here is your final classification. So Lewis Hamilton wins the Bahrain Grand Prix from Valtteri Bottas in 2nd, Charles Leclerc 3rd, Verstappen 4th, Vettel 5th, Norris 6th, Raikkonen 7th, Gasly 8th, then Albon 9th, Perez 10th, Giovinazzi 11th, Kvyat 12th, Magnussen 13th, Stroll 14th, and Russell, Kubica, and then Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Sainz 17th, 18th, and 19th, but out of the race, and then Romain Grosjean, your final retirement. Interesting to note, McLaren with Lando Norris only 45 seconds off the race win. I know there was a safety car, but even during the race, he was nowhere near being lapped. So a great pace by McLaren, also by Alfa Romeo. Toro Rosso I think Toro Rosso didn't have that great of a Grand Prix, to be honest. I think they were kind of here or there, not really doing anything that special, and capitalised on retirements ahead. I think that's all they did, really. There you go. But I think now we'll start reacting team by team to what happened in the race. So let's start off with Mercedes, who of course have come away with a perfect result, a 1-2 at a good, or if not the best track on the calendar for Ferrari. This is like winning the toughest of toughest away matches in football. That's what it's like for Mercedes, because this was kind of, in that sense, an away match. They did not have the best car this weekend. Ferrari had the best car quite clearly by, at least a quarter of a second a lap. And to come away with a 1-2 is a perfect result. And as I said in my Mercedes Mind Games video, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, it's on the channel. I uploaded it earlier this week. I made the point in that video, and I was dead right. When it comes to winning at tracks where you're not expected to win, Mercedes are a lot better at that than Ferrari are. Mercedes were not expected to win this race. They were expected to be competitive with the race win, but not win the Grand Prix or get a 1-2. But look what they've done. Got a 1-2. That's why Mercedes are the best in Formula 1, because even at tracks where you don't think they're going to be the best, they still go out there and take the win. And have been proven right on that again. For Lewis Hamilton, very good Grand Prix. Doesn't deserve to win, but a good Grand Prix. He deserved to finish on the podium for sure in P2. Good move on Vettel when he made it. Did pretty well on that soft compound of tyre in the middle stint of the Grand Prix. Then, of course, pitted again and went on to the medium and was very quick on the medium tyre. And after that, past Vettel. Vettel made his mistake. Then I think Lewis settled in for P2, but then Charles Leclerc, of course, had his MGUK failure and dropped back from P1, where Leclerc deserved to finish. So Lewis, lucky to win, but as I've said, and as a couple of people have said, you make your own luck in this game, and if you're going to capitalise from that sort of thing, you've got to be there to capitalise, and Lewis Hamilton normally is in that type of position. Bottas, a good result. I wouldn't necessarily say a good race. Made a good start. He got up to P2 ahead of Leclerc, then Leclerc passed him into turn 1. Bottas, I think, was a bit too nervous into turn 1, then lost 2 places to his teammate as well. But after that, did not have the speed to finish on the podium, but did because of Leclerc's issue and Sebastian Vettel spinning and having his front wing failure. So, yeah, good result for Bottas, but it definitely wasn't a good race. And I think Valtteri should look to improve for Shanghai, because I think he should have been a bit faster in the Grand Prix. But a 1-2 for Mercedes, absolutely perfect. And they now dominantly lead in the Constructors. And, well, they're looking good, aren't they? I know it's only 2 races in, but they're looking good for a Drivers and Constructors this year, because they're already having a commanding lead on both. So we'll see how they go in Shanghai, where they should be better than they were in Bahrain pace-wise compared to Ferrari. But we'll now move on to Ferrari. And such a disappointment. They had the best car this weekend. That cannot be doubted for a second. Ferrari had the best car. No one can doubt that. We're not even going to question that or debate that. But with the way things happened, it's just such a shame that it came to a 3rd and 5th place finish. It was going to be a 4th and 5th place finish if the safety car did not come out and save Leclerc's bacon at the end. But yeah, such a disappointing result. You know, leading 1-2, going into the second round of pit stops, Leclerc having his MG UK failure. Leclerc, driver of the day by a mile. I don't see how anyone out there could say that it was anyone other than Charles Leclerc. Of course, you're entitled to your own opinion and make sure to share it. But for me, easily, Charles Leclerc is driver of the day and deserved to win his first ever race in F1. But it was cruelly took away from him. And he'll be hoping to have a better race or better result rather in Shanghai. I don't think he can really have a better race than what he had today. Sebastian Vettel, though, finishing 5th. He got into the lead. And I'm going to be honest, when he dropped down to 2nd, he was a bit embarrassed by Leclerc. Leclerc just sailed around the outside of him, then defended well into turn 4. And I think Sebastian really, again, was a bit embarrassed by, you know, a rookie in that team to go right round the outside. Reminds me of the 2014 season with Ricciardo, how Vettel at times was embarrassed by Ricciardo, especially at Monza in 2014 that season. But yeah, was in 2nd, which is still good for him and good for Ferrari. Then he pitted 1 lap after Hamilton, which I don't think was a mistake. They were trying to cover him off, and they did. Vettel came out ahead, but then cracked under pressure. Hamilton passed him, and he spun, like he usually does. He cracks under pressure, and this is why Sebastian Vettel, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, this is why Sebastian Vettel is not an all-time great driver. Yes, he has the stats. Yes, he has the titles. But he makes way too many mistakes for a quote-unquote all-time great driver. He's not an all-time great driver. All-time greats do not make that many mistakes. And not only make that many mistakes, they don't make the same type of mistake mentally over and over again like he does. Yes, you know, Senna crashed and bottled it at Monaco in 1988. Schumacher crashed at Monaco in 96 after a few corners. It happens. The big drivers make errors, but he makes them all the time, and they all come back. All of it comes back to the same thing: mentality. That was his weak mentality at it again. He didn't want to be behind Hamilton. He fell for Hamilton's dummy slightly into turn 1, let Hamilton get a run on him. Hamilton passed him cleanly and very well around the outside, then panicked, spun the car, had a front wing failure and caused his own downfall. So I cannot feel sorry for the guy. Caused his own downfall, and again, that's why Sebastian Vettel is not an all-time great driver, and that's why I've been so critical of the guy. Until I see evidence that this guy is actually as good as people say he is, that's what my opinion is on the guy. He's not an all-time great driver. All-time greats do not make that many mistakes that come back consistently to his lack of mental strength. So, for me, again, bottling it there was Sebastian Vettel, and Ferrari have bottled the race win and the 1-2. You have to say that with the reliability issue and Vettel's driving. Again, another bad result for Ferrari. I know it's better than what they got in Australia, but considering the speed they had, bad result. And they've now got to go to Shanghai, which is a track that will suit their car, but not as well as Bahrain does. They've got to go there now and just go for it and get that race win and the 1-2. Because if they lose again, then it's going to turn into a 2016-esque season for them. I'm not saying they're not going to win a race, but they're just going to continue to disappoint when it really comes to winning a Grand Prix. Or, you know, disappoint when it comes to the Grand Prix, like they did plenty of times that season. They're going to win races, of course, this season, but they just continue, Ferrari, to just not get the job done. And that's what Mercedes, of course, are so good at, and that's why Mercedes are the world champions. But there you go. We're now going to Red Bull. Max Verstappen, I think, did the best he could. He would have been lucky to get a podium, but he should have got a podium. If the safety car had not come out, of course, he would have got a podium. He didn't deserve to, but he would have got one if the safety car did not come out. So a bit disappointing there not to gain that extra 3 points, which are very important in the championship, of course. Constructors and drivers, as Verstappen is P3 in the drivers. But a good race. I think Max did the best he could with what he had. The Red Bull car just wasn't quick enough in Bahrain. They got to improve the speed of the overall Red Bull Honda package. Should have been faster this weekend, but it just wasn't. I don't know why. Maybe it's the tyres. I don't know, but they did not have the speed this weekend. Gasly, though, even though the Red Bull car was not at its absolute best, Pierre Gasly has had a poor weekend. Qualifying P13, finishing P8. The race was a lot better in terms of the end result, but he wasn't going to finish in the points anyway if Sainz, Ricciardo and Hülkenberg had not had their issues. So, a poor weekend for Gasly, and he has to step it up for the Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai, because if he doesn't, and he does the same thing again, he could be dropped by Barcelona. I mean, we saw what happened to Danny Kvyat. I mean, of course, you had a very adequate replacement in Max Verstappen. But we've seen it before. It is not impossible to happen again. So he's got to have a top 6 qualifying position in Shanghai. And then if all of the top runners ahead of him finish the race, he has to finish in the top 6. And then try and gain on mistakes ahead or retirements. That's what he has to do at least. But if he ends up qualifying out the top 10 again based on speed, and then gets a measly, 2 or 4 points, then he is under real pressure, and he will be under real pressure, especially from Helmut Marko. So Pierre Gasly has to step it up. I am going to give him until Monaco to step up. But Shanghai, he absolutely has to, because Red Bull have shown in the past that they can drop drivers when they have, underperformed or not performed to the level that maybe they expect. But before I go on to the midfield and talk about the midfield, I just want to go through the chat to see what you guys have to say about what I've said about Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, and some of the performances. I'm expecting plenty of people. I've just seen a very funny comment there from Sharman LP. I'm expecting plenty of comments about what I've said about Sebastian Vettel, but look, I say that because that's my opinion. If you disagree, then hard luck. That's what my opinion is. I don't see this all-time great level in Sebastian Vettel. I'm sorry, I don't see it. Let me find that comment I was laughing at. Here we go. Sharman LP. Race 1, Ricciardo needs no wings. Race 2, Ricciardo needs no engine. Race 3, Ricciardo needs no chassis. Let's not jinx it that hard. Come on. You had a very unlucky end to 2018. 2019 is not going any better, is it? No points and 2 retirements. That is very disappointing for Danny Rick. I just seen their comment saying Vettel is done. His days in F1 are over. Ronan Brady says that I'm very harsh on Vettel, and I'm sorry to say, Chaz, I normally agree with you, but not about Vettel. Well, could you explain why exactly? I'm willing to hear your opinion to make sure to respond why you think I'm being too harsh, but I don't think I'm being harsh at all. I think plenty of people won't say what I'm saying because they won't want to be seen as, I don't know, too controversial or a bit outspoken, but I'm calling what I'm seeing. I don't see all-time greatness in that guy. I don't see it. I do not see it. He's never won from outside the top 3 on the grid. Hamilton has plenty of, or not plenty of times, but he has won outside the top 3 of the grid. I think more than 3 times. I think. Makes continuous mistakes which come down to mentality. Isn't as quick as people think he is. He's been really kind of, well, this weekend he's been roasted by his teammate Charles Leclerc. Roasted by Ricciardo in 2014. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. I mean, could you imagine Michael Schumacher getting roasted by Felipe Massa in 2006? Well, you can't imagine it because it didn't happen. Schumacher, even at the old age he was in 2006, comfortably beat Massa because Michael Schumacher was a true all-time great. Even though, you know, Mika Hakkinen was quicker than Senna, I think, in his first qualifying for McLaren, Senna was still way better than Hakkinen. And I think won the final 2 races of 93 when they were teammates. But Vettel, whenever he gets a new rookie teammate, can't deal with him. I'm not saying Vettel is going to lose this season, but you have to say today he was, or this weekend, he's been absolutely roasted by Leclerc. Right, let me read some more comments here. Simon Craglin says, yep, Leclerc was so much quicker than Seb. Ronan Brady says, I think people go through bad periods. They do, but, you know, and as you say, Lewis Hamilton in 2011, but he was a lot younger then, and he learnt from his mistakes and became a better driver. Sebastian Vettel has been making these errors for what, 2-3 years? Has he learnt a thing? Has he ever? Has he ever learnt a thing? He's still doing the same thing that he was doing at the end of 2018. High pressure situation, close racing, panics, crashes. What's the difference between the end of 2018 and now? There's no difference. He did the same thing again. And again, there's plenty of people out there that will think I'm being blasphemous with what I'm saying, but I call what I see. If Vettel drove like Hamilton did in the 2018 Italian Grand Prix, which is a great performance, if he drove like that, I'd say, you know what? Great performance, great drive, all of that. But as of late, I haven't seen anywhere near that type of performance from the guy. Someone saying I'm harsh. Yeah, maybe I am harsh, but that's my opinion on Vettel. I just don't see all-time greatness. Yes, he has the stats, but you can't only look at stats. You have to look at the circumstances and how stats are achieved and how he, came about to doing those things, getting those poles, race wins, and championships. Yes, he's a four-time world champion, but he does not perform like a four-time world champion. He performs like a world champ. If he performs like he's only won the championship once, that's being nice. You could argue that at times he performs like he has never won the championship and has not won that many races. That's how he performs. Max Verstappen in the final, 15? Not 15, that's being a bit ambitious. 14, 13 races in 2018 looked more like a four-time world champion at 20/21 than Vettel in a better car, more experienced, at 32. So, again, if you disagree, let me know, tweet at me, post a comment, whatever. I'm willing to hear all opinions, but I don't see how anyone out there could legitimately show me enough evidence to suggest that Sebastian Vettel is an all-time great and is one of the greatest of all time. I don't think anyone out there can show me enough evidence as to that. He's a good driver, very good, but there's a difference between good and great, and he's not great. He's not a great driver. Let me just see some more comments here. Ferrari kept the wrong person. No, I disagree. He's better than Raikkonen. Come on. Kimi's good, but Sebastian is better, for sure. That's why he beat him in 2018. Lewis did a great job of making a fiddle out of Vettel. I think Lewis basically exposed Sebastian's issues to the world mentally. He exposed them in 15 seconds? He distracted him, or tried to distract him. It worked. And then after that, cracked under pressure. Hamilton sailed around the outside. He panicked, spun the car, and then caused his own front wing failure because his tyres were vibrating because of the spin. So I think Lewis basically there just exposed Vettel's issues. We know what Vettel's issues are mentally. And Ronan Brady's saying in the live chat right now, and it's true, Vettel has got to Vettel mentally. Vettel cannot touch Lewis when it comes to the mental strength. Lewis Hamilton is way stronger mentally than Vettel. And I didn't think that was necessarily the case coming into 2017, where we were getting that, right, now they're in the, equal enough cars. Now let's see who's the best driver. Since then, Hamilton has shown that he's a better driver, more skilled in the wet and the dry. And mentally, it's not a contest. Lewis Hamilton is way stronger. Matador making a comment then. I think I should read it out. Mission spin now. Yes. Or mission spin now. That's a better way of saying it. I hope you're joking there, Ojas, saying you didn't consider wind. I really hope you're joking, because if that is your argument, then that is a very, very funny argument. Right, I'm going to try and find some more comments. I think I've been ranting a bit too much about Vettel, but it's a point I feel passionate about. I don't passionately dislike the guy. He's a great guy. I think he's more likable of a guy than Lewis Hamilton is, and I do like him more as a person than Lewis Hamilton. He seems as though, as a person, he'd be easier to get on with, and he's a lot friendlier and funnier. But as a driver, I have to call what I see. Not as good. Not as good at all. Let's just stop talking about Vettel. Yeah, I'll go on to the midfield in a moment for sure. I want to find... I just saw a Red Bull comment. I've just missed it. I just missed it. There was a good comment about Red Bull or Max Verstappen. Oh, there's someone talking about the Carlos Sainz. I sound Australian there. Sainz and Max Verstappen battle, saying it was Carlos's corner and Max should have backed out. I'm not going to say any more until I see the replay from Max's onboard. That will be the onboard that shows who was at fault. Because we didn't see an onboard from Max's car. So at the moment, I can only say racing incident. I can't say that it was, you know, Carlos's fault, Max's fault. I can't say yet because I want to see Max's onboard. Max's onboard will absolutely show who was at fault for that accident. But until I see that, I can't say. So sorry about that. But again, I can't say whose fault it was yet. I'll have to take a look at the onboards before I do my race review tomorrow, where I will review that incident and give my verdict based on the evidence I have seen, of course. Simano says Mercedes to win this year's championship with no fight. No, there'll be a strong fight for them to win it. Maybe again Mercedes will just pull away because they're more consistent in the races and get the points needed. But I think at most races, they're not going to be racing each other like they were in Australia. It's not going to be a 1-2 every single Grand Prix. They should not have got a 1-2 today. Pace-wise, should have been a Ferrari 1-2. And it was going to be until Vettel spun and then Leclerc had his issues. So even if they do have... even if they do... you know, have a great car and all of that at the races, it's going to be a tough fight still to win the championship and to win the races and stuff like that. Who had the fastest lap? I don't actually know. I think it was Charles Leclerc. I don't know for sure though. I don't 100% know who got the fastest lap. If anyone would like to clarify for me who got the fastest lap, let me know right now in the live chat. I think it was Leclerc. But I don't know for sure. When does the next race take place? The next race is in 2 weeks' time in Shanghai. And the race takes place at 7 AM UK time, I think. On Sunday the 14th of April, I think it is. So yeah, 2 weeks' time, and I'll be doing the same in Shanghai for that weekend, for the qualifying and the race. So don't forget to subscribe for that content coming up. Bottom right of the screen, you can click subscribe right there, or click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe and hit the notifications bell for that content. And also don't forget to join our Discord server. That's the best place for notifications for my videos and streams. It's a lot better than the YouTube notification system. So go into the Discord. The link is at the bottom. Yeah, it's third from bottom. Click on that and you can join the server and be a part of the hardcore Chazza HDF1 community. Ghost Sunny says, Chazza, incredible commentary. Thank you for that. By the way, apologies if the lap counter thing failed. The reason it the reason it failed was because there was too much going on to actually be able to update that and the running order at the same time. If you go back and watch the stream, remember, I'm having to do all of that, you know, put pictures on the screen, do the order constantly, look at the screen and commentate. So also, apologies if I didn't read the chat during the race that much, but I didn't have time to. I didn't have time to because I had to describe what was going on, update the order, put pictures on the screen so you guys know what's going on. It is tough to do when you're doing it all on your own. Not necessarily the speaking part, because Nib will be a part of the watchalongs, the race watchalongs, I think, from Shanghai. So I won't be the only one speaking during the race watchalongs, probably from Shanghai on. But when it comes to the on-screen visual stuff, that's all, you know, me. And it is tough to do all of that whilst describing the race at the same time. It's like, you know, Crofty and Martin Brundle having to commentate whilst doing the FOM graphics themselves. And that's why they don't do it, because they have, you know, production crews and all of that stuff that do it for them. Of course, I'd love to have that, but yeah, we don't have that kind of budget. We don't have hundreds of millions of dollars. So there you go. Jungle Brother says, great live analysis, Chazza. This will be my post-race destination from now on, even though you are a Ferrari fan. I'm not a Ferrari fan. Well, I don't outright support them, but they are my most favourite team, even though I don't support any driver or team at all. But my favourite, you know, my favourite team is Ferrari, and then after that I think it's Racing Point after that. But yeah, thanks for that, and yeah, hopefully you've subscribed and you'll be coming back for more content pretty soon. Right, let me James Zoo, Chaz, get your VPN ready before heading off. Yeah, I know what you're referencing there. Right, I'm just trying to find some more comments here. Ronan Brady, are you going live tomorrow? Yes, I am. I'll be live at 6 p.m. UK time for about 2 hours, reviewing the race, going through all the teams in a lot more in-depth way, talking about how their race went over the, you know, the Grand Prix in a more in-depth way. And then I'll get into the championship tables, talking points, reviewing incidents, and then Q&A. We'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow night, so don't forget to join us for that. But I think now I need to go into the midfield because I have neglected talking about them. So I'm going to talk about the midfield now. So, Renault. Good pace in the Grand Prix. Very good pace compared to their qualifying speed. Hulkenberg was going to get a P6 after starting P17 on the grid. That is a great race from Nico Hulkenberg. And Daniel Ricciardo as well, I thought did not I don't think he had a great race, did Daniel Ricciardo, but he had a good one, considering the grip he had in the car and the feeling he had with it. I think he did good. But then, of course, right at the end, a double failure for Renault at the same time. That is the worst thing to happen to a team, to have both cars go out at the exact same time. By the way, Nib, thanks for letting us know that Leclerc had the fastest lap, so he'll get a point for that. So that'll be 16 points from this race for him. That's the worst way for a team to go out of a race, with both cars at the same time, whether that's a crash or a reliability issue. Such a sad way for that to happen. I don't know what Renault do from here, to be honest, because the speed of the car was a lot better in the race than we were expecting, but they didn't get the result. You've got to get the results if you're going to be successful. Renault only have 6 points in the constructors. They should have more, a lot more, to be honest. And are now, I think, where are they now? I think P7 in the constructors. That's not good enough. And I know it's only 2 races in, but Renault should be already marching towards the front of that battle in P4 in the constructors. They should be. And they should have got the result today. But lack of reliability, again. Lack of reliability. They've had this issue for so long. And again, this is why Red Bull has a Honda power unit now, not a Renault. Because the Renault power unit, it may sometimes be good when it wants to be, but one thing it will not be is reliable. So there you go. Right, I'm going to move on. I'm sorry, I'm just reading the chat there. Someone saying DM me on Twitter. I don't know what that's about. Next, I'll move on to McLaren. Great race for Lando Norris. For me, Lando is second for me in my driver of the day. Did great to hold off Kimi Raikkonen for so long. I think they were side by side for about 5 laps straight. So great job there by Norris. Some great overtakes. And the guy really is showing why he does get the hype that he does. So I think I'm being shut up, to be honest, because I didn't think the guy was as good as people said he is. But he is doing very, very well. So good to see there by Lando. And great pace and a great performance for Carlos Sainz. Disappointing. Unlucky with what happened. He would have beat Norris today. He was at the front of that midfield gaggle, right behind Max Verstappen before the contact. I'll have to see later on if it was Verstappen's fault or Sainz's fault or racing incident. But that is a shame for Carlos. He would have been in the points, probably in Norris's position. McLaren could have scored 14 constructors' points today. And that would have took them into P4 in the constructors. So that does show you the progress that McLaren have clearly made. McLaren aren't back, but they're more back than they were, you know, back in 2018. So there you go. McLaren looking better, and that is good to see. Next up, Alfa Romeo. For me, a good result. Very weird race for them. They were involved in plenty of incidents. Kimi Raikkonen, for once, going wheel to wheel plenty of times. But I will say that result, P7, that's an important result. That's a very good result for Kimi Raikkonen. And I think Kimi as well deserves a shout out for a good weekend. P9 in qualifying, P7 in the race. A good result. And now, Alfa Romeo are P4 in the constructors. Hopefully, they can continue to score points that they are and then start improving once we get into the European season. And I think they will. I think once we get into, say, the Spanish and Monaco Grand Prix, I think Alfa Romeo will start to improve their car because they do have actually quite a lot of cash in hand. Giovinazzi, good result, but I'm going to be honest, I don't think he deserved to finish ahead of Kvyat. He should have got a penalty for hitting Kvyat off the track. Kvyat gave him room, and Giovinazzi hit him off the circuit. And I think Giovinazzi, if you look at his on board, he kind of admitted he was at fault because he put his hand up and was kind of like, well, you know, there you go, sorry about that. So he should have got a penalty for that, but he didn't. I don't understand why they did not give him a penalty for that, but there you go. That's their decision, not mine. But for Alfa Romeo, 6 points. That is a very, very good result as they now go to Shanghai. And in Shanghai, if they can get a points finish with any of their cars, even if it's 1 point, I think that would be a good result in Shanghai because I don't think the Alfa is going to be that great at that track. I don't think it'll suit that track as much as Bahrain. So, good result and hopefully a points finish again in Shanghai, even if it is only 10th place. Next up, and the worst team in the midfield by a mile, Haas F1. I don't know what they were playing at today. K-Mag started P6 and just fell down the field continuously for the entire race. He never made progress. Went down to P7. Sainz had his error, or his crash rather. Got back up to P6, then made a mistake and dropped down to P10, and then kept dropping. And I think the reason that is because of something we mentioned last year. Haas are the worst team in the midfield for tyre wear. They do not manage their tyres well at all. They cannot manage the tyres. And we saw that with K-Mag. He was all over the place, defending for his life against the Renaults, the Alfa Romeos, Toro Rossos even, and finished in 13th. I can't really talk about the driver performances or the driver performance of Kevin Magnussen because I think he was severely hampered, honestly, by his car's poor tyre wear. I think that's why he finished in 13th and finished a lap down. Romain Grosjean, though, retiring from the race, the first retirement. A shame, honestly, because I think Lance Stroll was at fault for their collision. Grosjean, gave him plenty of room, and Stroll had room on the inside, and Stroll just went into him and caused that crash and caused his own downfall, just like Vettel causing his own downfall. So, unfortunate for Grosjean, even though Romain, I don't think, had that good of a start to the Grand Prix. But for Haas, absolute disaster. You cannot call it anything else. Disaster. They should have scored points with both cars today. They've ended up with nothing, and McLaren have gained on them massively. In fact, they've now drawn level with Haas. Alfa Romeo are now ahead of Haas. They really, really have had a disaster today, and they've got to, in Shanghai, respond with at least, I would say, one car getting in the points, like a P8 or a P9. Also, Shanghai, I don't think, like Alfa Romeo, I don't think they're going to be that good in Shanghai, because normally that track is not good for their car. They've never really been that strong at that track. But we'll move on to Toro Rosso. Big well done to Alexander Albon. First ever points finish in Formula 1. He was lucky to get it. He got it because the two Renaults retired from the Grand Prix. But like Lewis Hamilton, you've got to make your own luck and be in that position to capitalise. And he was, and got into P9. And I think had a good race today. And can be proud of his performance. He was basically, well, he did outperform Kvyat when it mattered in qualifying and the Grand Prix. And also, he did dive down the inside of Kvyat at turn 11. Very nice move down the inside. A good race for Albon and a good result. Kvyat P12. Kvyat just hasn't had the speed this weekend and finishes P12 where he really deserves to. But Toro Rosso, not that great a speed, but again, they come away with a points finish. So that is always a positive. Next up, we'll go to Racing Point. Again, like Toro Rosso, lucky to get points. Perez getting the solitary point for Racing Point, and they now have the same amount of points as Toro Rosso. But yeah, lucky to get into the top 10. They didn't deserve to. They didn't have the pace to finish in the top 10. They got it because of the two Renaults. Lance Stroll, for me, was at fault for that collision with Romain Grosjean. But overall, poor weekend for Racing Point. They should have been a lot more competitive than they were. This normally is a good track for them, but they just didn't have any real speed in the car, no real grip or real confidence. So it is a real shame Racing Point did not really turn up and show the speed that I was kind of expecting. But there you go. And the final team, of course, is Williams at the back, 15th and 16th. A better finishing result than it was in Australia, but that's because I think there was more retirements. And yeah, there is. So there you go. But there you go. There is my race reaction of the 2019 Bahrain Grand Prix. And I've just seen, and Ultraman is absolutely bang on. The next race, guys, is the 1000th race in Formula 1. Race 1000 is Shanghai, and I will have a video celebrating the 1000th race the week of the Chinese Grand Prix. So don't worry, that is absolutely coming. And I've just been sent a tweet by Nib of the Verstappen science incident and Verstappen's on board, and I think Nib just said that Max was definitely at fault. So let's see. I'm just watching it now on Twitter. The science around the outside. Yeah, Max. Right. Yeah, Max was at fault. There's not even a doubt about that. Just piled straight into science. Right. I'm going to read out some final comments the final good ones that I can find, and then I will come to the end of the stream. By the way, thank all of you for coming along. It's been a great stream, great race, and I absolutely love doing these streams when we've had a great race and not a boring one. Erudite even says, what a race. Duke Gaming, Norris is just the same as Hamilton. He can squeeze out last ounce of performance from the car. I wouldn't go that far yet. Let's settle down and see what he can do on a consistent basis. Jungle Brother says, great race debrief, Chazza. Loving this. Thank you. Kenny Porter, hats off to Norris. He's got swag. Indeed he has. Just trying to look and see if there's any final good comments. By the way, thanks to everyone for posting your comments in regards to what's happened in the Grand Prix. Right, let me just look at some more comments here. Rona Brady, just me, or was Kvyat useless today like he was in 2017? He wasn't useless, he just didn't have the pace. Like Magnussen, just didn't have the pace to actually get in the top 10. I wouldn't say useless. If you're going to say useless about Kvyat, then you should probably say the same about Magnussen. Right. What happened to Renault? Double retirement with both cars. Such a shame, but it's another reliability issue for Renault, so it's not exactly a, breaking news that Renault have reliability issues. Saravanan, I think it is, says McLaren by mid-season will be the third fastest team. No. I don't think they will. I think Red Bull will be in the top 3 still. And then, of course, you've got the 2 big dogs at the front, Ferrari and Mercedes. McLaren could become 4th fastest if they develop well and use their money well that they do have. But 3rd fastest, I think that's a bit of a stretch, to be honest. Let me just look at some more comments. Duke Gaming says, love your stream, you are amazing. Thank you very much. What can we call you? Jazz, as most people are. And where are you from? I think you can tell I am from the United Kingdom and obviously England. Are you surprised there hasn't been more than 1,000 races? No, I don't think it's really an unsurprising or surprising thing. It's just, time for the 1,000th race. That's all it is, really. Sid Hearth says, battle between Hamilton and Vettel was breathtaking. It absolutely was. Could Verstappen be in for 3rd this year? Says Beauty Darlings. I don't know. Ferrari should, with their drivers and their pace of their car, should overtake Verstappen, because I don't think the Red Bull is quite there yet for pace. But if Verstappen just hangs about, picks up the points, he could do later on in the season if the Red Bull car comes on a bit more. Right, let me find a couple more final comments and then we will end this stream. Lando is the new Hamilton. Again, too early for that talk. To say he's the new Hamilton is a bit over the top. So yeah, just wait and let's see if he can do it on a consistent basis. Because, I remember Felipe Nasr in the Sauber in 2015 had a great first 4 or 5 races. And he hasn't been in F1 since 2016. So just because you've had 2 good opening races or 1 good, properly good Grand Prix doesn't mean anything. We need to see if we can do it consistently in a good car. Just looking at some more comments here. People will say Lewis is always lucky, but trust me, Lewis is like a lion. He puts drivers under extreme pressure. He was lucky today, but he's not always lucky. In fact, if you look at last season, Lewis was less lucky than Vettel because Lewis had more reliability failures and I think bad luck. Thanks to Ronan Brady, who says thanks for a good stream. No problem. And I'll find one more comment to end on. Thank you to Duke Gaming. And again, Ronan Brady. I'm just trying to find that final comment. A good final comment. So if you do have one, then post it quickly so I can end on your comment. I'm just looking. There's so many good comments to go through. I'm just trying to find the best one I can. Max has learnt his lesson. Didn't try to race Stroll. Yeah, that is the case. I think we're forgetting that. I think we're forgetting that he could have done the same or had the same thing again with Stroll this time, but he did not. And the final comment I'll end on is from Crystal Racing. Charles Leclerc, who in his opinion is F1's Mary Sue. I'll leave it at that. But guys, it's been another race weekend in 2019. We're now 2 races down with 19 to go. It's been a great race today. I told you guys it'd be a great race because Bahrain never disappoints. And again, great race. And I'll definitely be watching this race back. It was that good, honestly, today. But thank you guys for coming along. So great to see all of you lovely people here. All at times 500 of you. So thank you guys for coming along. And if you are new to the channel and you have also subscribed, thank you so much for doing so and being a part of this channel. And don't forget to, if you are new, subscribe for more content like this. I will be doing watch-alongs for qualifying and the race for every race weekend in 2019. So make sure to subscribe on the bottom right of the screen or click on my channel name, go to the channel page, subscribe and hit the notifications bell for more content like this. Again, apologies that I did not pay attention to the live chat as much as I should. But again, I had plenty else to focus on, you know, what's going on in the race and then updating the order and the picture. So sorry about that, but I think I do have a valid enough reason for doing so at times. Also, don't forget to like this video, comment down below what you thought of this video and what did you think of the Bahrain Grand Prix and what happened in the Bahrain Grand Prix. Don't forget as well to join our Discord server, link below in the description. That is the best place to get notifications for my videos and is also the hardcore Chazza HDF1 community. So if you want to join that, Discord is the place. So go and join that. It is the link that is third from bottom. Also, I have a fantasy league on the F1 Fantasy League website. If you did not know, the entry code is in the description just below where it says don't forget to subscribe here. And as well, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110 and check out my website chazzahd.com for more content like this. But guys, until the race review tomorrow night for 2 hours long, where we'll have an in-depth review of everything that happened in Bahrain today. And until the next race, 2 weeks time, race 1000 in Shanghai, it has been me, Chazza HD. Goodbye.